It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
the Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, July 25th, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani back inside our New York City studio. Hope you had a lovely weekend. It was a beautiful one here in the New York area. And wow, what an interesting one in the world of mixed martial arts. The best part about it all is right off the top, we don't have to talk about PD violations, drug tests, sales, unions, things of that nature. We need to talk about some actual fights, some athletic competitions, some surprising results, some interesting fights, some big news. This was a fun weekend in MMA. I needed this weekend. Beginning Friday, Bellator had a topsy-turvy event. How about Darion Caldwell losing in what some odds makers are calling one of the greatest upsets in the history of the sport? How about that? How about Mackenzie Dern looking pretty darn good in her MMA debut, though I thought her opponent, Kenya Rosas, was equally impressive in the amount of heart that she showed. Of course, it was a very dominant victory for Mackenzie Dern, but still, Rosas was just unbelievable to watch, fending off all those submission attempts. And then the big news, of course, Holly Holm losing to Valentina Shevchenko, the pride of Kyrgyzstan. Valentina Bullet Shevchenko defeated Holly Holm on Saturday night in Chicago, Illinois, main event, the 20th UFC on Fox event, in a fight that I thought Holly won the first round, and then Valentina won the next four. Figured out Holly Holm on the feet, was able to really dictate where the fight went. On the feet, on the ground, it was a masterful performance by a fighter who should probably be fighting at 125 pounds, let's be honest. It was clear that there was a major size difference in favor of Holly Holm, but that was not a factor. In fact, you can argue that Valentina was actually the stronger fighter physically. A couple times there, it was like, wow, Valentina Shevchenko is a beast and certainly a force to be reckoned with in that division. Now, on Saturday night in my wrap-up video with Luke Thomas, I called the bantamweight division a mess, and I don't want that to be taken negatively. I actually feel like this is more fun than when there's a dominant champion. In the past, I've said that I like dominant champions, but sometimes it's fun when there's this unpredictability to a division. And let's be honest, this is not Ronda Rousey dominating the bantamweight division circa 2013, 2012, 2014. I think the division has gotten a lot better. I think the top of the division is very dangerous, as seen by the last few months. I wonder how Ronda does if and when she returns. This is a much, much improved UFC women's bantamweight division. Take nothing away from Holly Holm. Take nothing away from Valentina Shevchenko. Shevchenko went the distance with Amanda Nunes, and Nunes now the champion. So much to discuss as it pertains to that division. Also, Edson Barbosa continues to look good since moving to New Jersey. Full-time, linking up with the great Mark Henry. He defeats Gilbert Melendez, Francis Ngannou. It's Ngannou. Not that hard to pronounce. Francis Ngannou with a big win on Saturday. He continues to be a name to look out for in the heavyweight division. So there's some fun results to talk about, and of course, the fun never stops this weekend. It's the return of Invicta. It's the return of World Series of Fighting. They've got that weird brother versus brother matchup, and it is the return of the UFC with UFC 201. Tyron Woodley finally gets his crack at the UFC welterweight title against Robbie Lawler. Of course, we'll talk about all of that and more. Stack show this week. I'm excited for this lineup. Let's get to it and kick off the show the right way. 4:15, we'll talk to Mark Hunt. He has been in the news. A very interesting interview Mark Hunt gave to his own website, talking about the UFC, quote-unquote, lining their pockets with the fighters' blood, calling for a fighters' association. Mark Hunt is a fired-up Aussie right now, and he is pissed off. Now, will he be fired up when we call him at 6:15 a.m. his time? Later on in the show, well, we'll find out. Usually he's pretty on point, regardless of the day, the time of day. So that's 4:15. 3:55, we'll talk to Michael Page about, of course, his win over Cyborg Santos, the injury, where he goes from here, the Pokemon stuff, all that. Around 3:05, we'll take your questions and comments. with New York Rick, who is back from Virginia. He attended the Glory event, so perhaps we'll talk about that as well. Chai Lewis Perry with a nice win over there. The karate hottie, Michelle Watterson, will stop by at 245. She faces Aisling Daly in September. That was announced last week. Daniel Leith, who is a nutritionist for the likes of Daniel Cormier, Cain Velasquez, Luke Rockhold, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and many others. He is the partner of George Lockhart, who you've heard on this show. He is a great guy, very smart guy. A lot to talk to him about as it pertains to health-related issues in MMA. So I'm looking forward to that. Chael Sonnen will stop by. Does he have some big news? Something big happened to Chael Sonnen last week. We'll talk about that. The aforementioned Khabib Nurmagomedov will stop by at 145. Where does he fit in that lightweight title picture? And the aforementioned Mackenzie Dern, the BJJ star herself, multiple-time, I said that sort of like a Brazilian, multiple-time jiu-jitsu winner. She's beat them all. She's won it all. She'll stop by after her successful MMA debut at around 125. But first, I wanted to start this week off with my good pal, Juliana Pena, because she is very much in the mix in the 135-pound division. And I noted on Saturday that I had a feeling she was watching that main event very closely. We'll find out if that was indeed true. So let us go to the phone lines and welcome in the Venezuelan vixen herself, Juliana Pena. Juliana, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good to hear from you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing, Ariel?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you on the show as always. So was I right? Were you watching the main event on Saturday night?
Oh, I sure was. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
What'd you think? Did you think that Valentina Shevchenko deserved to win that fight? Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, I think she deserved to win this fight.
Were you surprised that she won?
No, I wasn't. I've been saying for a while now that harmless Holly couldn't hurt a fly, especially in a 5-round fight.
Harmless Holly? I have not heard that one before. Is that your own?
Yeah, it's a little nickname.
Do you think Holly Holm was overrated?
A little bit, you know. I think that she kind of got thrown into the mix and got into the top 10 after, you know, beating up, you know, some people that have not, you know, been around as long. So I think that she got really lucky with the choices of opponents that she's had.
So given the fact that Holly is this big name because she beat Ronda Rousey, she loses, and Shevchenko has a loss recently to the new champion, Amanda Nunes, was that result great for Juliana Pena?
I think it was good. I mean, to me, it's just like left me thinking, well, who else do they have? You know what I mean? I'm the only one in the top 5 that's coming off of a win. So,
wow.
I mean, the choice is very clear for me.
What do you make of the division right now? All these champions losing. You mentioned only one in the top 5 coming off a win, of course, other than the champion herself. Some have theories as to why this is happening. What's your take on why all these big names are losing in that particular division?
I have no idea. You know, I just know that the division has been changing a lot more now that Ronda's not the champion, and this is what I knew was going to happen after that.
Well, how did you know? Why did you know?
Just because I feel like Ronda's kind of a one-trick pony who's kind of been, you know, just being able to rack up all these wins and being so dominant. I knew the second that she would lose that it would be more of an open division for the rest of us. And once she was exposed, you know, that it would be a lot harder for her to even, first off, get back in there, and then second off, you know, get back in there and win her belt back, no less. So I think it's good for the other girls to finally, you know, show the world that there's other 135-pound women out there other than Ronda Rousey.
Do you agree with the statement I made earlier that it's unfair to compare the current women's bantamweight division to the one of 2 years ago when Ronda was winning in a matter of seconds, that the division in the last couple of years has improved rapidly and, I mean, it has made major leaps and bounds? Would you agree with that?
I would agree that the division has completely changed more now than it was, you know, 2 years ago, and I definitely think that is important so that, like I said, everyone can see that there's a lot more stiffer competition out there than one girl.
So I saw that you were tweeting on Saturday, retweeting a lot of people saying that you deserve the title shot. Not just saying this because you're on the line, I agree. I think you deserve the title shot. And this is not my way of extending an olive branch to you as well. I speak the truth. Have you been told by the UFC that because Holly Holm lost, you will be getting the next shot at the title?
No, I haven't. I haven't been told anything by the UFC. I'm just waiting over here and waiting to hear what they have to say.
You told me before 200 that you were going to bench yourself if you don't get a title shot after beating Kat Zingano. Do you still feel that way?
I'm not going to stonewall anyone, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm not fighting. So I'm just going to, know that I have, the facts are on the table, and I'm just going to hang out and wait for them to come at me with an offer, basically.
Are you confident that you're going to get the shot next?
No, I don't have anything in paper in writing. So the second I sign my name on the dotted line, then I'll know that it's a real thing, and then I'll get excited and be confident.
It has been said many times by the UFC brass that whenever Ronda decides to come back, if she comes back, she's getting an immediate title shot. Do you think that makes sense? Do you think that is fair to the rest of you?
No, I don't think it's fair. Absolutely not. But I know that Ronda is a big part of the reason as to why we have a division in the first place. So, you got to pay respect where respect is due, and I definitely respect her for the fact that she was blazing trails in order to get us into the UFC in the first place. So she's a big name. She sells a lot. That's the money fight, and they definitely want to see her with her belt back. So if she decides to come back, I'm sure that they're going to give it to her.
If you can play Ronda for a second, you see what's happening here to Misha and Holly. Does this, in your opinion, make her want to come back sooner, or does this make her rethink even coming back? Like, wow, as you said, the division is a lot tougher than when I was the queen.
I think that she's going to definitely rethink things, It's not the same, and especially when you are gone so long and not competing, there's so many things that play into your head, and especially if you're not injured, then you're just kind of sitting there every day, like, do I go back? Do I get myself back in camp? Do I hang out and keep making movies? What do I do? And so I think that she's got a lot of decisions that she needs to make, and I think she kind of enjoys the fact that the rest of us are waiting on her, figuring out, well, is she coming back today, or what about next week, or has she been training this week, and so everyone's just kind of sitting here waiting on what she wants to do, and it's kind of annoying, but
yeah, I'm sure you love that.
What am I gonna do?
Right. I mean, you know her sort of well because you were on the show with her, and you've been around this game a long time. Do you think that she comes back ever?
No, I don't know her well enough at all, but okay. I definitely think that she's coming back eventually. Yeah.
Did you notice on Twitter? After the fight, Amanda Nunes said that she thought you and Shevchenko should fight it out for the #1 contender spot.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah, what was the tweet exactly again? That she thought that
the exact wording
that I haven't proved myself enough.
Yes.
I haven't proved myself. I don't know how many more times I can prove myself. When I was on The Ultimate Fighter, it was just Ronda and Misha, in the division winning back then while I was winning on The Ultimate Fighter. When Ronda got out, or when The Ultimate Fighter got out, Ronda was still winning, and then I got injured, and then when I came back, I was still winning, So I've been winning this whole entire time. I've been winning since stepping foot in the UFC octagon. I've been consistently winning since stepping on that show, so I don't know how much more I can prove myself. I think that's pretty funny. It just sounds like, she's ducking, the both of us, because she just got in a fight with Valentino. She knows what she's working with, and she knows that, I'm just getting warmed up in the third, so a 5-round fight with me is going to be atrocious, and she knows that I'm going to stand right there in the pocket with her and throw blows, so I definitely don't think that she welcomes that, and she's kind of biding her time as much as she can.
So that's
all it sounds like to me.
I'm looking at her Twitter now. She says, I won the first fight with Valentina Shevchenko by unanimous decision. If I fight her again, I will beat her again, this time very clean. Then in her next tweet, she says, I feel she needs to prove herself a little more. I think you versus Valentina, winner comes to me. So perhaps she was actually saying that Valentina needs to prove herself a little more. upon further reflection.
I don't know what the heck she's saying. She needs to prove herself a little more. You're the champion. You should be expecting any and all oncomers at any given point in time, you know?
I will agree that I don't like when a new champion starts playing matchmaker and saying these two people should fight, you know, and the winner fights me. I always find that that's a weird look. She was on this show last week, and I did specifically ask her about your win over Kat Zingano. Of course, she fought Kat Zingano not that long ago, and she specifically said that she was not impressed with your performance. Do you have a reaction to that? I don't know if you heard that and have thought about it. But
yeah. Well, I'm not impressed by her performance when she fought Kat Zingano either.
Fair enough. Why is that?
I mean, because she got beat, she got stopped, she got knocked out, you know. So, like, Kat is a world-class athlete, and I was able to do what she was not able to do against Kat Zingano. So, what does that say?
Are you surprised that it's taking you this long? I know you had the injury, but I feel like coming off The Ultimate Fighter, given your fan base, it really feels like you have now been one of those fighters that really has to like work to get that title shot. For some fighters, it comes easier for whatever reason. But to me, this almost feels like a no-brainer. And again, I'm not saying I would have said this if you were not on the show, especially after what happened on Saturday. This is the no-brainer of all no-brainers. And yet I feel like you do have to go out there and campaign a little bit. Do you feel the same way? And is that annoying as well?
It is annoying. It's annoying and it's embarrassing. I feel like I shouldn't have to do this song and dance and shout off onto the rooftops like a wild screaming banshee being like, give me my title shot. You know, it's like Holly beat the oldest lady in the division, Marion Renew. She beat like two old ladies, and then she went to a draw, which was like a coin flip on who won the fight, Pennington or Holly, and she gets a title shot. You know what I mean? Coming out of thin air, you know, like Betch Correia beats Shayna Baszler, who didn't get past me on The Ultimate Fighter, and she gets a title shot just by, you know, waving her hand. You know, like these girls are. You know, Misha got her second title shot after being 1-0 against Ronda after she beat. Jessica Ai, she got another title shot to campaign against Holly. It's like, I beat Jessica Ai, nothing happens. You know, I beat Shayna Baszler, nothing happens. And Shayna Baszler was in the top 10 back then. You know, I keep beating these people that other people have beaten. They get title shots and I don't get title shots. So it is annoying, you know, but I know that in anything in life, you got to work hard and you got to work for stuff. And if I want this, then I just have to keep working, you know, and that's what I plan on doing. And I think that that's the main focus is, you know, you want something bad enough and you're not going to stop and you're going to do anything in your power, whatever it takes to make that happen. And I'm going to do that.
We had a chance to catch up after 200, and I appreciate that, but I forgot to ask you about your walkout song, which I thought was maybe the best of the entire night. It was Crazy on You. And dare I say, really, it really represents your personality very well. And I thought that was brilliant. Where did that come from?
It actually came from my favorite person, Dana White.
Oh.
And, yeah, he picks my walkout songs because I'm pretty, I'm a little superstitious sometimes when it comes to some fighting things, you know, fight week, stuff like that. And I always have to walk out to a random song, so I leave it up to Dana, and then he chooses the song that he wants me to walk out to. But the last, like, 3 songs have always had, like, the word crazy in it, because he calls me his little crazy train because he thinks that I'm nuts. So he put, like, Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne last time, and then this one, Crazy On You by Heart. So I think he just tries to find as many songs as he can that has the word crazy in it, and then I'll just walk out to that. So I never know what I'm walking out to till the second I'm walking out to the cage.
You're kidding. You don't want to know?
No, I swear.
Wow.
No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. It's too much. It gives me anxiety just having to, like, think of my favorite song that represents me the best. You know, it's like the song doesn't matter. Just play the song and let's go.
There's not something motivational about the song that, you know, you've used in training that you want to get pumped up. Like, what if this song is completely off and just throws you off seconds before you're about to walk in the cage? You don't worry about that?
No, because that's why I leave it up to random, so I don't have to worry about what it's going to play. What motivates me is knowing that I haven't heard the song. I have absolutely no idea what's going to play, and then they just start playing my song, and I'm like, all right, this is my song, you know? So I'm pretty familiar with a lot of music, too, so it's not like I have been unfamiliar with, you know, the sound of the music the second I start walking. The second I start walking, I'm like, okay, this song's badass. Let's do this.
Oh, that's amazing. So how do you feel about him choosing songs that have the word crazy in it? Are you okay with that?
Well, I'm the one that called myself crazy to him in the first place. When I first met him, I was like, hello, I'm Juliana, and then after a while on The Ultimate Fighter, when I started to, start having panic attacks because you're locked in there like a caged animal, I'm like, I'm going crazy. Like, I'm a crazy train right now, Dana. Like, you got to get me out of here. Like, I'm going nuts, And he's like, calm down. There's nothing more important right now. Back in Spokane. Don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. Like, let everybody do their thing. You just focus on the fight. And I was like, okay. So he's called me his crazy train ever since. And so that's just kind of my nickname from him, I guess.
So are we keeping this going? Like, even if you fight for the belt, become champion, you're going to keep changing your song every time?
Well, I don't know, because, so I let him pick all my songs, right? And then this last time, he replayed a song that he already played for me. But I think it's because he really thinks that it, fits me well. So I don't know if he's going to keep it like that. I hope he changes it, because I'm kind of superstitious like that. But I got to let go of these superstitions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It absolutely matters zero if I pick a song or if I don't pick a song. I just think it's something fun to give him something to do, and give him some control over the show. So if he likes to do it, then I'll let him keep doing it. And if not, then maybe I'll just start picking my own songs.
Did you enjoy that experience, being a part of that big weekend? It was an insane one with all the news and drama and stuff. But for you personally, looking back at 200, being a part of that, the last fight before the pay-per-view, over 1 million and change watched. Did you enjoy the experience?
Yeah, I did. I know that people like to see me fight, and it's really exciting to know that I broke the numbers on Fox Sports 1, and over 2 million people were watching that, and to be fighting on free TV where most people could watch me as opposed to paying, the pay-per-view money is exciting. I don't think that a fighter gets as good of an opportunity like that, especially on the biggest card. So for me, it was a dream come true. And I just really enjoyed the role that I played, which was very nice and easy and not, some crazy, hit mitts and show everybody what you're working with for a half hour, where they could take pictures and stuff. Like, I didn't have to do any of that. So I was like, this is awesome. It was a nice, smooth week for me. And
do you feel like that win over such a big name sort of signifies that, all right, Juliana Pena is officially back, the injury is over, you're fighting, at 100% full strength, you are there? Like, I kind of felt like that was symbolic in a way, that you needed that big win to really tell the world that you are back, the injury's over, it's now in the rearview mirror. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, everyone always got me pinpointed as some underdog the whole time. I've been an underdog for every single fight that I've had, and they underestimated me on the show. They underestimate me in my career. They underestimate me, even being a champion and fighting for the belt. But, if that's what makes them happy, that's fine. More power to them. But I'm going to do what I know that I can do and what I'm capable of. And that is, I want to be recognized as one of the best female fighters in the world. And I want that to go down in history. I want to be recognized as one of the best. And the only way that you're going to be the best is to get that belt and to be the champion. And I've just been so ready to show people for many years, even when I got on The Ultimate Fighter, that I am the force to be reckoned with, that I've been saying all along. And, I'm going to kick, scream, punch, shout off onto the rooftops if that's what I have to do. But I need people to understand that, I'm very serious when it comes to mixed martial arts. I'm very serious about being the champion, and I'm very serious about my career and the fights that I take and just fighting in general. This is my passion. This is what I love to do. And I just want that to be, displayed for everybody. I want them to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed, and I want them to, give me the respect that I deserve, the amount of respect that I would give to anybody else who has put in as much work as I have at this point.
Are you wearing sunglasses right now?
I'm about to.
All right, because that last answer was very sunglass Juliana. Like, I'm not taking no crap from nobody. All y'all are pissing me off. Enough of this crap. I'm going to get my belt. Like, it was very businesslike.
No, it's very annoying. I have to be like, listen to me. Give me a title shot, I swear. It's like, no. this should have been done a long time ago. What did I need to do? Did I need to come off of 3 losses and then you guys give me the title shot? Like,
get
what's
knocked
going
out
on here? Like my grandfather says, what's the big idea?
True or false? Juliana Pena's next fight will be for the UFC title. What do you believe?
True.
True. Will it be in 2016?
I don't know. I guess we gotta figure out what
that's not true or false though.
Wants to do, and her whole not being impressed and stuff like that. And I haven't proven myself, so maybe she'll want me to prove myself in 2016, or maybe she wants to keep her belt warm for a little bit longer for 2015. I have no idea, but whatever she wants to do, I guess.
But
I'm ready. Yeah. Whatever they want to do, let's go. You know what I mean? Let's do this.
Yes, I love it. But if they say we want you to fight this person before the belt, you're saying no.
I don't know what I'm going to say. Right. I don't imagine hearing anything other than you're going to be fighting for the title.
Are you preparing yourself for Ronda's return and potentially being disappointed?
Yeah, I mean, I was already disappointed before because they just didn't say it right away that I was getting the title. So I've already cried over this a couple times. So
legit,
and I've dealt with some other bigger issues in not getting what I want. So it'll just be like, oh, of course you don't get the title shot, but that's negative. And I don't want to think negatively. I want to think positively. And so if they don't give it to me, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But in the meantime, I'm just staying hopeful that, this is the clear-cut choice. This is the clear-cut answer. And it's the fight that makes sense, and it's a fight that people want to see. So
what did you cry about in the past, recently?
Oh, there's just been other things, just dealing with daily life, problems that people have to deal with that, people get told no and on certain things all the time. So it's just one of those. It's just another one of those things. And you're either going to let it stop you and your life is over, or you're going to keep pushing through and keep working through it. And so, like I said, I'm staying positive in the fact that I think that they know that I want a title shot, and they know that that's the choice that makes sense. If I don't get what I want, then, like I said, I'm just going to have to keep moving forward. But I'm just going to stay positive and believe that, my company wants to see me fight for the belt, and they want to see me be the champion.
2 last quick things. Is everything good back at the gym in Spokane? You feeling good there? You feel like you're firing on all cylinders, all that stuff?
Yeah. It's good to be back home in the 509, and
yes.
It's awesome being here. I love my community. I love my gym, and I've been traveling back and forth between LA and Chicago and Spokane for these last camps, and so I'll probably still do that since I'm going to be in LA a lot and going to be over in Chicago. So I think it's important to switch it up sometimes and to just do some things that are out of the norm, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Are we cool again?
Yeah, I think so. You said that you were extending the olive branch, but I thought I already gave you this olive branch after the press conference at 200.
Well, that was off camera, so publicly I just wanted to assure everyone that we were cool.
We're totally cool. We're cool like the other side of the pillow.
Oh, yes. Rest in peace, Stuart Scott. He's the one who came up with that line on SportsCenter.
I saw it on a cartoon a long time ago when I was a kid. That's fun.
Well, you know what? He may have stolen it from the cartoon, but I think he popularized it. I'm happy to hear that. It really shook up my world when I thought that we were in a tiff, but now I think everything's back to normal. So that makes me feel a lot better.
No, like I said, you were talking about like the week at 200. I think that seriously, it is so stressful, and there's so much anxiety building up for the week of the fight that like the time that I get to have the most fun is messing with the reporters and giving the interviews. And
yes, you're great at them.
First off, I'm not wearing sunglasses just to wear sunglasses on this last time. I had like the worst black eye in my entire life that I've ever gotten in my entire career the week before the fight, and my eye was just bloodshot red. Oh. And not only that, but the lights are so bright in there. With all those lights, dude, it is super bright. And so all those cameras in your face is like I had to hide my black eye. It was sensitive to the light. Like I'm not wearing the sunglasses to be Mr. Cool. I'm just trying to, hide some black eyes and stuff.
Well, I think you're Mrs. Cool, for the record, but it's good to know. I think you should just keep going with the sunglass thing for.
I do too. I feel like it's our thing kind of a little bit.
Yeah, it's good. Well, this has been fun. Thank you, Juliana. I hope you get that title shot. Great job laying out all the facts. Good luck in getting it. I hope they make the right call. And I appreciate you coming on and voicing your opinion after a big weekend in your division this Saturday.
7-0, Ariel. I'm 7-0.
Preach, sister. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
All right, there she is, Juliana Pena, making her case for the women's bantamweight title shot in the UFC. Now we continue this women's MMA theme. They are the talk of the town on Friday. Legacy, Lake Charles, Louisiana. BJJ star, arguably the greatest BJJ star living right now as far as women's BJJ is concerned, is Mackenzie Dern, and she made her long-awaited, much-anticipated mixed martial arts debut on Friday, and it was successful. Perhaps didn't go as she planned, but got a lot of cage time in there and looked very good, very dominant in doing so. This is big news in the world of MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. A lot of people have been waiting for this for a long time, and she's joining us, I believe, via the magic of Skype phone. She's on the phone. Mackenzie Dern joining us right now.
Hi.
Mackenzie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I understand that you are in Barcelona, as they say over there, right?
Yes, Barcelona.
It's actually Barcelona. You have to say Barcelona.
Oh, yeah, with like a list, right?
Yes.
Barcelona.
I appreciate you coming on very much. Congratulations on the win. And I know this is somewhat of a vacation for you, so thank you for taking out some time for us. So now you finally got that MMA debut under your belt, so to speak, under your black belt. Did it go as you thought it would? Did you think that you would need 15 minutes to defeat her?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm so happy to be able to finally do the fight. I know for sure it was something that everyone was waiting for. Like, everyone was asking me almost like 3 years, hey, when are you going to do MMA? When are you going to do MMA? And then when I did decide to do MMA, it was, okay, when is your fight? When is your fight? And now it's like official, I have an MMA fight underneath my belt, so my jiu-jitsu belt. So I'm really excited about that. I'm always confident in my jiu-jitsu, and I especially since like it was her pro debut, Kenya Rosa's pro debut, and was my first fight. So like I was definitely confident in my jiu-jitsu and my competition experience that hopefully I was going to be able to get a submission, But man, she was so flexible and very tough, So. I wasn't upset about it. I felt really good in the whole fight. It was good to see the cardio difference between MMA, to be able to go all 3 rounds and like being attacking all 3 rounds and not feel tired and see that, everything's going good, preparation is going good. It was just good. And also, too, jiu-jitsu, we don't really hurt people,
Yeah.
It's just a choke armbar. So it was kind of good for me to be able to see, like, kind of get, okay, I can throw elbows, I can throw this, like you kind of have to have that side to you, so it was good for me to be able to feel that and learn that. I liked it.
So here's a big question. Did you enjoy the process? Do you want to keep doing this?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can't wait for the next one. I'm already talking to my manager, like, when are we going to get the next fight? I think that there's some things, like, I can train, but just like my jiu-jitsu, like, I have 20 years experience with jiu-jitsu, something that just time you can build that, So I'm really into like trying to get the experience as much as possible. So I'm already ready to like start the next. And I don't want to take too much time off. The weight cut was so hard for me. So I prefer to not give myself too much time to gain too much weight. I prefer to stay lower on weight and not suffer so much.
What's going through your mind, considering how good you are in jiu-jitsu, when you're fighting someone who doesn't have, the same kind of skill on the mat as you do, and you're locking in these arm bars, everything possible on the ground. It was a lot of fun to watch you work on the mat, and yet she's not tapping, and she's showing unbelievable flexibility. Is that messing with you? Like, are you talking to yourself, well, what do I have to do to actually finish this girl?
No, I mean, after the first armbar, I pretty much figured that, like, she was flexible. And, I mean, I don't know if she is, like, double jointed or anything, but, I mean, it's, like, common. So we see, like, in jiu-jitsu, too, sometimes. Like, I've trained with girls who are like really flexible, and then my mind was just kind of like, okay, what do I need to do to not get tired if I don't finish her, So I was just trying to control, and I didn't want to spend too much energy like trying to submit something. If, I think even if I had like a choke, I think that she wouldn't tap. I think she'd prefer to go to sleep. She just had like a very like I could feel like fighting her. She had like really good spirit, like warrior spirit, not give up. So I was like, man, I think that with her, it's better I just gain some experience here. I some positions, like I almost went to a knee bar and toe hold, and I was like, let me work a little bit, like this is my first fight, so let me work a little bit my punching and try to get used to that, So I didn't get frustrated or anything. Like I think would be maybe more frustrating if I felt her like defending a lot of the positions, but a lot of times I could feel like I was getting in the positions of submissions, but she was just tough and hanging on and stuff like that. So I didn't get frustrated, and I thought it was a good experience. It was good for me to like be calm during the fight, so I really enjoyed it.
You mentioned that people have been asking you for several years, when are you going to transition to MMA, or if you're going to transition to MMA. Do you recall the moment when you decided, all right, enough of this, I'm going to go for it, I'm not going to be afraid, I'm going to make this transition, put myself in uncomfortable territory? Do you recall when you made that decision and why?
Yeah, I remember it was December, and I had told myself, okay, I'm going to do it, but my first goal is to win the World Championships as black belt. And so I did that, and then I said, like, okay, now I'm going to do it, but then I still wanted to win the Worlds again. So then I won the Worlds this year again, but December of 2015, so last December, was when, like, I told my coach, John Crouch, I said, like, hey, coach, okay, I'm ready to do this. I won my world title that I wanted to win. I kind of accomplished, I had a great year in jiu-jitsu, so I accomplished a lot of things that I want to accomplish, so I need, like, new challenges, I'm ready to, like, do this. So we decided to make my first fight after the World Championships, just because I felt like my jiu-jitsu would be the best technique. Like I have a huge jiu-jitsu camp for the World, so I figured my jiu-jitsu technique would be at the best timing, the best, like, very tight and sharp after my World Championships. So we tried to look for a fight to be, like, really close to the end. So that's why I was lucky to get my fight now for July 22nd. And, I remember, like, that I made one post with Lauren Murphy and Jocelyn Jones, who are both in the UFC, and it just blew up. I think we have, like, lots of famous girls in jiu-jitsu, Kira Gracie, Michelle Nicolini, Gabby Garcia, who, like, transitioned to MMA, but no one really was sure if they will, if they won't, so I think it was really exciting. People enjoyed the fact that it's official now, like I'm going to take this serious and hopefully get a UFC title one day. Yeah,
you mentioned John Crouch, head coach at the Lab in Arizona, one of the very best coaches in the world. You live in Arizona, so it makes a lot of sense to team up with that team, but your father, the great Megaton Diaz, has been your coach since you were just a little niña, since you were like 3 years old or so. Is it true, though, that you said you didn't want him in your corner because he would get too nervous and maybe put that nervousness on you? Is that true?
Yeah, I think even just for him, too. Of course, one day, like, I would love to have him there in my corner, but or to watch me fight and everything. But, I feel like you kind of need in your corner, it's almost like that people that love you but don't love you so much that they get so nervous when you're fighting, that they freeze, or maybe they, I don't want him to feel like get emotional if I'm losing, or getting, I'm his little girl, so I didn't know what to expect from the fight. I don't know if I was going to get knocked out or to get bloody and cut on my face, and I don't think it's too good, for my dad to see that yet, so because the fight was like on Access TV, I thought it would be better for him to watch it from home, him, my mom, my whole family, maybe one day after he get used to it. I even talked to him. I called him after the fight. Yeah. And we talked about it, and he gave me, like, his opinions, what he thought.
What did he say?
He thought I did really good. He loved, like, all my jiu-jitsu. He was so proud of me. But he said that I asked him, like, so did you get nervous? Like, you trust in my decision to be in MMA and everything? He said, yeah, but he liked that he saw it online, like on TV. You know, he said he felt a little bit better, you know, watching me on TV and not live, getting me punched and stuff like that, seeing me punched.
I don't know if calling it a rivalry is the right kind of word, but you've had this sort of history with Gabby Garcia, and I have to say, watching you compete against her in jiu-jitsu is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, just given the size difference. And when you defeated her, I mean, it's really an inspiring thing to watch, and I have no idea how you do it. Is it true that you asked your team afterwards if your debut was better than hers?
Yeah, I mean, we do have like a big rivalry, me and her. We don't get along definitely anymore.
Enough. Why? What happened?
I don't know. I mean, we used to be pretty like good. Of course, I mean, like she's beating me tons of times. You know, like I was the one who won the last fight between us, but in comparison, I mean, she's beat me. I didn't win, you know, just at the first time. This has been like a long time, like a year of her beating me and me learning from each experience and getting better and trying to learn from the mistakes. And I don't know, the last time that we fought, we just kind of I think she didn't take it well, you know. And I understand, you know, like she was undefeated, you know, so sometimes it's hard from other people to putting, you know, like talking about it. It can be a lot, you know. So we just kind of had a falling out, and we definitely didn't end on good terms with that, you know. But even for her MMA debut, you know, of course I was like cheering for her because she is like a representation of jiu-jitsu, you know. She represents jiu-jitsu, and I'm always cheering for jiu-jitsu, and I'm always cheering for the jiu-jitsu guy, of course. But, you know, I think just, yeah, that was one big thing, you know, between my team, you know. I was kind of like, oh, I hope, I mean, I wish I could have seen her do a little bit more jiu-jitsu on her first debut, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I wasn't able to submit my first fight too, you know what I mean? So the first thing I asked my coaches was like, oh, you know, how was it compared to hers, you know? So I was definitely one of the first things I asked.
Will you continue doing jiu-jitsu now that you've embarked on this MMA career?
Yeah, for sure. I'll still do like some jiu-jitsu tournaments. Anytime that I don't have a fight and I have like the right conditions, I'm never stopping to train jiu-jitsu, you know, like I'll keep training jiu-jitsu forever to help my MMA. You know, I can't go 100% just doing boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, and everything, and let my jiu-jitsu get sloppy. You know, so I'll always be training my jiu-jitsu, and as long as my conditioning is there, and I don't have a fight, you know, within the next 3 weeks, man, if I can, I'll compete jiu-jitsu for sure. That's like I'm so competitive, you know. Like right now, I'm number one in the world in jiu-jitsu, and I don't want to leave number one too soon, you know.
Yeah.
1 year at being number one is too soon. Let's try to do 2, 3 years, 4 years.
You know, you've been competing for around 20 years or so. You're 23 now. Would you say competing against Gabby Garcia is the toughest thing you've ever done athletically?
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure the most challenging, you know, just because there's no one in the academy that's even close to her size.
Yeah.
So there's no way to prepare yourself to fight her, you know, and the only way you prepare yourself to fight her, at least for me, is to fight the absolute division. And to fight the absolute division, I need to like fight a whole bunch of other girls too, you know, who are also bigger than me, you know. So sometimes I would lose before I made it to the finals with her, or maybe she'd be in the semifinals, but maybe, you know, I would lose before I get to her. So it was just so hard to be able to fight her, to reach her. And then when I did fight her, like that was my only training, was to see how I did in the fight, you know. So then I had to see, okay, what worked, what didn't work. It was so challenging for sure. But I mean, I think the biggest thing is everyone always asks me like, oh man, she has like guy strength, you know, but she's not crazy strong, you know. She's still like, she has woman strength. Nothing compares to like my dad holding my hand on. My dad is so much stronger than her. Like nothing that I go through in the training is she's not worse than anything that I go through during the training, you know, but she's heavy for sure. She's so heavy and so big, so I feel like I'm doing leg press for like 20 minutes straight, man.
You told my colleague Guilherme Cruz before this fight that 2017 you envision yourself in the UFC making a run at the title. After your debut, do you still feel like that's attainable, like that's the goal?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. Yeah.
We're halfway done 2016.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fast worker, and I learn fast. I think that as long as I keep evolving, you know, that's the plan. That's what I want to do. I'm not going to give up on what I have planned. So I think I'm doing good. It's just to get used to it and to keep being confident and trust. There's so much stuff that my coaches and everything, they taught me, and in the training, I'm even doing that good. But I think for my first fight, to be able to have that come out, it went like straight right away to jiu-jitsu, like your instincts came out first, So I'm excited to start testing more like my stand-up and stuff. But of course, I'm never going to take away my jiu-jitsu. I always go to jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm still confident with that goal. I think that maybe by the end of 2017, I can try for a title. We'll see. Who knows?
Wow.
Never know. But that's the goal.
Are you comfortable with getting punched in the face? Because that takes some time to get used to, right?
Yeah, that takes time to get used to it. It actually doesn't hurt as much as I thought it would hurt. It's more like the anticipation. You don't want to like, close your eyes when you see a punch coming and stuff. But for this first fight, I even got like punched me being like I was mounting Kenya, and she was kind of throwing punches at me from the mount, but there's just so much adrenaline that, man, I didn't feel anything. I think after I felt like a little bit sore on my head and my jaws, things that I'm not used to with jiu-jitsu, but it's okay. I'm getting used to it. Nothing compared to what Lauren Murphy does with me
Sure.
or Dawson. They punch so hard.
You had the great privilege of having a former champion in Benson Henderson in your corner. Did he tell you anything before the fight about the nerves, the debut, just what to expect, how to get comfortable in the cage? This was all very new to you. Did he share some wisdom with you?
Yeah, I'm really good friends with Ben, and I'm so lucky because, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and he competes in jiu-jitsu too. So
yeah,
he can relate so much to me, and he just kept telling me like how it's so like jiu-jitsu, like how this is like my moment, and that I'm born to do this, that I'm used to doing this. Nothing is different than what I do in jiu-jitsu, And it was crazy because it really is. I felt like I was walking out to a jiu-jitsu match. I didn't feel like anything different. I didn't really hear any of the crowds. I didn't hear anything. I felt like I was going to compete. I was so relaxed, and I think that's why I liked it so much, because it was like a very similar feeling to competing in jiu-jitsu, but in jiu-jitsu, I was getting kind of like used to the feeling, the adrenaline, wasn't that much adrenaline rush, so I still had adrenaline, was still like a challenge to like have to think about kicks and punches, but it still gave me that happiness and joy to be that competition feeling that I like. So he helped me so much, and he always puts like motivation speeches on during training, so he put that on for me in the back before my fight. I asked him to, and he was putting it on for me and helping me get in the zone. So I'm so happy that he was there.
I have to ask, there's been some talk about your accent, that it's changed.
Yes.
What is going on with the accent? Now it kind of sounds pretty standard to me, but it gets a little more Brazilian, I would say, then a little more American. What's happening? Is it just based on who you're hanging out with? What's going on?
I think that it all depends. Like, for example, when I get really tired, like thinking, okay, so if I fight, I have one interview that I see a lot was right after I fought Gabby Garcia, and right after that fight, I just got off the mat, and literally, like, the person doing the interview was Brazilian. I speak 2 languages, so I'm not 100% American. I was born in America, but my dad is Brazilian. My ex-fiance is Brazilian. I dated him for 5 years. I lived in Brazil. So, I think people get confused and they think I'm just like this American girl, like born and raised, just, what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't speak any other language, And so then I got out of the fight, and my mind is thinking in Portuguese, and the guy's asking me the questions in Portuguese, and he asked me to respond in English, So, honestly, I think just kind of depends how my mind is thinking. I don't even hear the accent, especially when I see like interviews where my dad's talking. My dad has such a strong accent, so I don't even hear it. But I think it's more how I'm thinking, or how who I'm talking to. Maybe if I'm speaking Portuguese and then someone just switches on me, you're still thinking in Portuguese, in English. So I think that's what's going on, but I don't know. I noticed that people have been talking about that lately, so I feel like kind of like honored that they notice so much about how I talk.
Oh, yeah. They notice a lot about you. They are very perceptive when it comes to you. Final thing, when in a perfect world would you like to fight again? If you had your way, what month, what time frame would you like to get your second MMA fight?
I already asked Danny if he could try to find a fight for me in October, so that's what I'm looking for. The
great Danny Rubenstein, your manager.
Yes.
October, so a little less than 3 months away.
Yeah. I'm in Barcelona right now.
Yeah.
And I come back home on Sunday, I think. And then the plan is to go fight in Japan for a jiu-jitsu tournament at the beginning of September.
Okay.
And then I'll be back to fight hopefully the end of October.
All right. And you're there for a seminar in Barcelona as well?
No. Right now it's just to take my mind off training a little bit.
Okay. Well, enjoy that. Again, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us during your vacation, because I'm sure you're going to go out on Las Ramblas now. And right? I was there once in my younger days. Playa Barceloneta. I mean, I know that whole scene. It's unbelievable. But enjoy, Mackenzie, and really congratulations. It was a lot of fun to watch. I know it was a big deal getting your first MMA victory. Soon it will be UFC.
I would hope so.
Yes. So congratulations on that. Thank you very much for the time, and I look forward to watching your MMA career from here on out.
Thank you so much, Ariel. Nice talking to you.
It is a pleasure. There she is, Mackenzie Dern, the best female BJJ practitioner living on this earth right now. How about that? And some would argue maybe the best, period. Successfully making her MMA debut this Friday. Congratulations to her. Okay. Let us move along. Now let's go from one of the very best at BJJ, making the transition to arguably one of the very best in the world, period, when it comes to MMA. And some might say he is the king without a crown as far as the lightweight division is concerned. Still undefeated, looking for that title shot. We're talking to the Eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov, right now, joining us from Russia, which is very exciting. Khabib, are you there?
Hey, what's up? How are you? Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum, my brother. It is good to talk to you. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting things happening right now. There's a new champion, Eddie Alvarez. No more Rafael dos Anjos. What does that mean for you? Are you the guy that's getting the next title shot? Because there's a sweepstakes going on. People talking Tony, Edson, you are there, Nate Diaz. Are you the one getting the next title shot?
For me, nothing changed because I always have only one goal. This is belt. Barboza, Eddie, RDA, Tony, doesn't matter. For me, it's no problem. I have to take my belt. I wanna fight for the title. Now Eddie's champion. For me, Eddie is no interesting. For me, interesting title fight. I have to take this belt. That's why I wanna fight now with Eddie. But to be honest with you, Eddie is not interesting for me. But now Eddie is champion. That's why I have to fight with him.
Okay, so when you say he's not interesting, what do you mean by that?
Before when he fight with Dos Anjos for me is not too much, but a little bit interesting because people talk about he changed after my last fight with him, and people talk about this. But I beat Dos Anjos already. That's why Dos Anjos not interesting for me too. But now Eddie is champion. But before when he fight with Dos Anjos, Eddie is not interesting for me too. But now he have belt. That's why I want to fight with him. And doesn't matter who is champion. I want to take this belt.
Did you watch Eddie's win over RDA? And if so, were you impressed with what he did to RDA?
I watched this fight. I sit down very close cage, and to be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised about this. But I think he's a little bit lucky in this fight because I think Dos Anjos is better fighter than him.
Oh, wow. So you think Eddie got lucky in the fight?
I think he's lucky. When he throw first punch, right overhand, and after that, Dos Anjos don't understand what happened in the fight because after first punch, he trouble him, and after he finished him. But I think he's a little bit lucky about this fight.
Are you getting the feeling that Eddie is avoiding you? Because I've seen on your Twitter that you're sort of implying that. Do you feel like he's trying not to fight you?
You know, I think he won't I think he won't make money, like fight with McGregor or Nate Diaz, but I understand him. You know, he want a little bit enjoy with belt, something like this. But UFC give him title fight when he have 2-1 record in UFC. He lose first fight, and after that he win. He have 2 win streak, and UFC give him fight. And because he is number 1 ranked, but now I am the number 1 ranked fighter in lightweight division, and that's why UFC have to give me my title shot, and he have to take this fight. But I don't understand why he don't want to fight with me. But I think because I can make him tired, I can make him take down, and I can make him finish. I think he understands this because. I think he and his all coaches understand I'm on different level, and he don't want to fight with me. This is 100%.
Have you or your manager, Ali Abdelaziz, talked to the UFC about their plans for his first title defense? Do you have any idea what they're going to do?
I sent a message for Dana.
Oh.
I said I want to fight. I want to fight for the belt because I deserve this. I deserve this. All my career, I'm undefeated. All these guys, Barboza, Tony, Dos Anjos, everybody lose. I am never lose. And I think UFC have to give me title shot. But fighters talk about like Tony, other guys talk about I don't beat in last fight top 10 fighters, but this is not my problem. UFC give me fight with Tony 16 April. And I fight with 16 April, but Tony is not coming. This is not my problem. Tony have problem. Tony have injured. Tony is pull out. And when I am pull out, I am all the time steady, quiet, and waiting when I am come back. But Tony is talk too much about this situation, and after that, Tony's opponent injured, and he pull out. And we see give him a new opponent, and he take this. But before, when I take fight with Daryl Horcher, he talked too much about the situation. And, you know, but I think I am number 1 ranked, and I deserve this title shot.
Yeah.
But about Barboza, Tony, or other guys, I don't know. I don't know about these guys, but I am the number 1 ranked. I am the undefeated, 23-0, and that's why 100% UFC have to give me title shot. And... No.
Did you watch Tony's fight against Lando Venata? And were you surprised that he was rocked so many times, especially early on? What did you think of that?
I don't think about this too much.
Okay.
This is Tony's problem. This is not my problem because Tony is go down 4 times, and he fight with opponent. We have 8 fights. And his opponent has debuted, and I finished my opponent who have debuted. I finished him, you know, like I finished him second round. Like my opponent don't have chance, you know, but his opponent can finish him 4 times. He go down 4 times. He is not El Cucu, he is El Knockdowner, you know, and he have a lot of problems in his game, and I think he have to work about this. And he have to shut up because he talk too much. He go down 4 times with who have debuted in UFC, and he go down 4 times, and he talk about title fight. I don't think about this. I think I am deserve this.
Ramadan just wrapped up, and I know you wanted to take a break during Ramadan, understandably so. Are you back to full-time training now?
Yes, I come back. I'm training 2 times a day, and I'm waiting for when UFC call me and when UFC give me title shot. I think very good date for me and for Eddie is this October. And I don't know about UFC plans. I don't know about this, but I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting when Dana or somebody call me when my manager called me and say, "Hey, you have title fight. I'm waiting for this."
October sounds good, but what about New York in November? Because there's a big Russian population here in New York. Eddie's from Philadelphia. I feel like that makes a lot of sense as well.
I can fight in New York too because a lot of Russian people living there.
Yeah.
I think if UFC put me and put Eddie fight in New York, I think this is very good idea because a lot of people coming for watching this fight. But we'll see what happens. I'm waiting for this. But November or October for me is no problem. Okay. I think, but New York, I like New York too. But if you say, hey, you can you fight in December? I can wait. Why not? because this is title fight. That's why. And we'll see what happens. We'll see.
So right now in the lightweight division, it's pretty much you and Tony Ferguson. Are you worried that maybe McGregor or Diaz, after their fight, is going to jump you and get a title shot before? Are you worried about that at all?
I don't worry about this because this is two guys fighting in welterweight division.
Yeah. Why
this guy has to fight in a lightweight title?
Yeah.
I don't think this is a good idea. But UFC can make decision everything. You know, nobody know what happened. And but I'm the number one ranked. I'm the undefeated in lightweight division.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, but I don't know what plans have UFC. But I'm waiting for my title shot.
What's life like for you back home? I've seen some videos of people going crazy when you show up to the Reebok store and fans, coming after you. Is it hard to have a private life back home now because you're such a big star?
No, not too much, but a little bit. This is about how popular UFC in Russia.
Yeah.
This is not only about me, but I feel this after my last fight. My name is go different level. I feel this. A lot of people know me, in Russia. But I don't think about this because I have only one goal. I have to take this. I have to take this belt for my Russia, for my Russian people. I think Russian people deserve this. And, I want to become first UFC Russian champion. And I have a very big goal. And now I'm number one ranked. And now I think I deserve this.
Have they talked to you about any plans of coming to Russia for an event? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know about this. I think maybe 2017 coming, but I don't know.
No plans yet. Okay, let me ask you this, Khabib, before I let you go. Do you feel 100% healthy now? Do you feel like all the injuries and stuff are behind you?
No, I feel ready. I feel ready for everything. I am healthy. Ramadan is finished. Everything finished, and I want to fight for that. I want to fight for the title. You know this, Ariel.
Yeah.
How I want this.
Yeah.
And but we'll see what happens. For me, it's very interesting. Who fight for the title next? Who? But UFC give for Eddie when he have 2 win streak, but I have 7 win streak, and I have 23 fight win streak, and I don't know who deserve this, but we'll see.
Last question: if you fight Eddie, when you fight Eddie, what's your prediction? How you beat him?
I think if I fight with Eddie, I have I can make him tired. All the time wrestling with him, takedown, and finishing him on the underground, maybe 2nd or 3rd round.
Okay. Wow. Khabib, thank you for the time. Good luck getting the fight. I think you make a very strong case, and I agree. I think you deserve it. So good luck to you, my friend, and thank you for coming on the show again. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum, my brother. There he is, Khabib Nurmagomedov, 23-0. As he mentioned, undefeated in his MMA career, not just undefeated in the UFC. He puts he puts out the facts, and it's one of those things. He was ready to fight, and it's unfortunate that Tony couldn't make it. That was a fantastic main event. Tony wasn't healthy, couldn't fight in April, and ironically enough, Tony has to fight a newcomer just a couple of weeks ago. It's a tough spot for Tony because he's won so many in a row. I believe it's 8 now, and to not get a title shot, that is a huge letdown. But 23-0, 7-0 in the UFC, as he put it. It's hard to deny Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he is becoming a very, very, very big deal over in Russia. So you got to capitalize on that as well. We'll see what happens. All right. Very excited about our next guest. Always a pleasure to talk to the one and only Chael P. Sonnen. He is joining us via the magic of Skype, and he is a very happy man. Wow. Not from the usual office with the WEC poster. Where are we right now?
I moved, buddy. I moved. I'm literally across the street, but I'm in a new house, and I don't have it set up yet.
Wow, this has thrown me for a loop. I'm used to your usual perch. Look at you living it up. Bigger house. What do we get?
It's a little bit bigger, but it's a little bit newer too. It's right across the street. My wife wanted a new house. I wanted to die in the one I was in, so I got to stay in the same neighborhood. She got a different house. The time was right.
Is it weird seeing a new owner in what was the house that you thought you were going to die in?
Yeah, I drove to it the other day. I drove to it and started to get out of my car, and they were coming down the steps. I'm like, that's right. I don't live here anymore.
Oh, gosh.
Got back in my car and left. Felt like a fool.
Well, life is good for Chael Sonnen. Not only do you have a new house, Friday was a very big day for you, right? And I saw you did an emergency podcast. You're welcome. I saw it. It was a Saturday drop. It did not sneak by me. And you told the world that you are now a free man. Daddy is back, as you put it. You are no longer suspended by the Nevada Athletic Commission. Your 2-year suspension is up. You are free to resume your MMA career. So the floor is yours. Tell us when your MMA career will resume.
Well, I don't have any plan to come back to MMA. Here's where I'm at, Ariel. Here's where I can't come back to MMA if I wanted because I don't have a license. I have to get a license. So my suspension's up. In theory, I should be able to get a license. But then you have the testing pool. And it's a matter of, am I even eligible for that? And I jumped into the pool, which is a 4-month process. And I've done 2 tests, but I don't have the results back. And in full disclosure, Errol, I don't know what they're going to say. I had substances that break down one through your liver and one through your kidney. And if you take substances that break down through either of those organs, metabolites can last. And the only way you know if they're gone and you're eligible is to take the test.
Okay.
So I took the test, but I don't have the results back. And I can tell you straight up, I do not sleep that easy at night. Now, I only have to pass one. If I can pass the first one, all the rest will be fine. But I have to know that it's out. That's the spot I'm in.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. If you do indeed pass that first one, do you want to resume your MMA career? Is that the green light to keep going?
I sure like to have that option.
Okay.
I mean, that's the whole point, is to have that option. I believe I'm done with MMA, and that's just candidly, but I don't have that option. I am done. I am done unless you can get a license. You know, it's like anything else. You got to be approved to do it. So I would like to have the ability to choose.
Why do you say that you are not sure if you can get a license? Who's not licensing you?
Well, thanks for saying that. I just meant, so I don't know a whole ton about this USADA pool. I kind of got a storm, and the way I ended up on it is a whole nother story. It was kind of unintentional, but with this, I retired before USADA was around.
Sure.
So I've never experienced it. In fact, when USADA came in before they were ever announced, I was the first one tested. The second was supposed to be Vandalay. It blew up in both of our faces. So this whole out of competition and what you can take and in comp, out of comp, there's just a lot of procedure, and I've never been through it. So as far as getting licensed for the UFC, you have to be in compliance with USADA, and I'm just in the middle of that process, man.
I know that there's a 4-month period in which you need to be tested before you can resume. Can you tell us when that first test was? Because I'm wondering when that 4-month period is up for you, if indeed you want to return.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you, but Not because it's a secret, but because I don't know. And I would miss the Portland card, though. If that's where you were going with that, I would miss the Portland card by like 15 days. Somebody did the math for me, but whatever the answer is, I missed that one by hours, by a matter of hours.
Is that disappointing?
Well, I've had a dream to fight at home. I mean, that's a little bit of a fantasy. Now, that usually turns into more of a pain in the ass than anything else. Fighting at home is kind of a tough thing to do. The media, hey, can I get a ticket? All that stuff that goes in with it. And it's not a pay-per-view. I mean, look, I'm not looking to come back. This isn't but I'll be candid with you. I'm trying to test the waters and see that it is an option. If I was to come back, Daddy only fights on paper.
That's right. That's what I was thinking as well. Has anyone from the UFC reached out to you? You know, the brass. Have they said no? Nothing,
no,
really?
I have not heard from anybody, and I don't know if that's because things were changing hands or how all that happened, man. I ended up in the pool on accident. I made a phone call to see if I could take a test. And they said, well, without being in the pool. And I said, yeah, I want to take a test to make sure I can pass the test. And they go, so you're telling us that you took a bunch of banned things and you want to make sure it's out of your system so you don't get caught? And I go, yeah, that's exactly what happened. I took a bunch of stuff that you can't take, and I want to make sure it's like, I thought that made sense. Like, yeah, I don't want to jump in this thing if it's just all going to blow up in my face. And they laughed like that made no, like what I was saying was crazy. And I'm going, well, no, that's exactly what happened. I don't know how this stuff gets out and breaks down. And don't forget. And they go, well, it's been 2 years. There's nothing that sticks around for 2 years that we've heard of. And I say, well, guys, time out. I'm not just worried about that. But when I was no longer in the pool, all the stuff I could have taken that all becomes relevant.
Sure.
Everything has to be out, and this pool is a very unique thing. As I read about it and watched it, I started to become a real believer, Eric. It's very organized. I thought it was kind of disorganized, maybe even underhanded in some spots. It's not. It's very professional the way that it's. There's videos, there's educationals. You have to do a phone call and ask questions and get told. So it's very organized. But the bottom line is, I was saying, yeah, man, I want a dry run. Give me a dry run at this thing to make sure that I'm in compliance so it doesn't backfire. Somewhere in acquiring, that put me into the pool. The next thing I know, these guys are at my door. And listen, man, that's not a great feeling when you've lived on the other side of the tracks. So, again, I only have to pass the first one. If I pass the first one, it's smooth sailing. But I don't know.
To the best of your knowledge, when
you know what else? Yeah. You want to know something else, Eric? I don't want to be tested like everybody else. Like I want it to be on a curve. I want like a curve system. Oh, you had 7 things last time. This time you've only got 3. That's pretty good. Like that's the kind of test I'm looking for, and I'm not sure that's out there.
I think that's a fair point.
It seems reasonable.
Yeah. To the best
it's good enough for the University of Oregon. It should be good enough for USADA.
That is 100% true. To the best of your knowledge, when's the last time you took a banned substance?
Okay, so this is where it starts to get murky.
Okay.
What is a banned substance? See, that's the other thing.
According to the WADA code.
Yeah, right. And we're not talking about illegal substance. For your viewers, we're not talking about illegal. We're talking about what is banned to be in this very unique pool. And the only way to really, because see, it requires further research, Ariel. When I got jammed up the first time, I had told you, I go, Ariel, I don't know what's banned. I remember you saying we could just Google it. It's like, well, hold on. Let me explain. If you were to Google something or you were to go to the WADA code and it's not on the banned list, then you were to assume that it's on the allowed list. Well, that's not true. For example, I tested positive for something called growth hormone. Well, I never took growth hormone. I took something called Norditropin Flexpen. Norditropin Flexpen is not on the banned list, but it contains an active ingredient that is somatropin. Somatropin is the active ingredient in human growth hormone. So it just requires further. I just lost everybody right there by dropping those big syllables. But the relevance is it requires further research. It's not as simple as saying I'm taking this. You then have to break down what's in that. Now, that's just the rules, and I'm not at all complaining. I'm just saying this is the spot I'm in where you have to be very cognizant. So when you ask me when the last time I took something that was banned, it's like, well, here's the deal, Ariel. The Demetrius Johnson rule is the only one that'll keep you safe. Demetrius Johnson said, and I quote, "I'm the UFC champion, and I don't know what's allowed. So I only put food and water into my body. Unless you follow that rule, you got to be puckered up like I am."
Can you resume your fighting career and have a successful, second chapter, whatever you want to call it, by just consuming food and water? Or do you need other things because of, the fact that you're older, you've done stuff in the past? You know what I mean?
Yeah, see, that's where it gets tough. Like in the testosterone days when we were allowed to take testosterone, that made really good sense. Now, of course, that got murky and guys took advantage of it and completely backfired. But it made good sense because the world of sport right now belongs to 18 to 25-year-olds. Science has stepped in and goes, well, not so fast. We can actually continue to give you what your body gave you naturally at a later time. So you're seeing guys that are able to extend their careers. That's a pretty cool thing. Guys started to manipulate that, and the whole thing backfired, so you had to do away with it. I was part of that testosterone era, but I was also one of the guys that's like, look, you got to get rid of it. And if that costs us our career, we can't do it anymore, then we can't do it anymore, because the way it's getting done is it's getting bumbled, and it wasn't right. So to your point, it's really tough. You have to find ways. I have to find ways to get my testosterone up. There's something called an IGF-1, which is the scientific term for growth hormone. Those levels I believe in, and I think that you need to find a way to get them up, but you have to do it within the rules. And there's also a misconception, Errol, that performance enhancers are illegal. That isn't true. There's a whole bunch of performance enhancers that you can take, but again, you got to make sure they're on the approved list.
I've been keeping an eye on you. I've been watching you, your various TV appearances. I see you at the events and whatnot. You tend to avoid me, but I continue to watch you from afar. You appear to be in tremendous shape. You're svelte. You're thinner than the last couple of years. To me, to the untrained eye, I would say this man is in shape and continues to be in shape and is working out for some reason other than just working out. You're not going to the hotel treadmill for 20 minutes. You're doing something. Something's up. That's my take.
I think that's fair. Okay. I've been in the gym. I'm at a gym now, and we've got a lot of guys getting ready to fight. Ed Herman, my teammate, is fighting on the Woodley Lawler card Saturday. I've got a new teammate, Ronnie Marks. You'll remember Ronnie fought Aaron Simpson, Yoel Romero. He just signed with World Series of Fighting. He moved out here from Brazil. So I've got these great guys that I need to do my part and be a good teammate. We've got another guy, Jason Novelli. He just signed with the UFC. Ryan Walker's getting very close. So we've got the right atmosphere, and I go in there every day and insert myself and try to push hard.
Athletes always talk about the itch. When talking about returning, leaving, they lost the itch, they're getting the itch, they need to scratch the itch. Do you have the MMA itch, the professional MMA UFC itch? Is that somewhere on your body? Do you need to scratch it?
I definitely have it, man. I think about it all the time. And it never goes away. I had a college wrestling match with this guy named Zach Thompson out of Iowa State. I was 20 years old. It was half of my life ago. I think about it every day. Every day. And I've talked to guys that are retired and said, hey, does this ever go away? Do these things ever quit haunting you? And like Randy Couture, by example, he's like, no, man, you got to just learn to deal with it. It's just the way it goes. So I definitely have that itch. I fantasize about it. But it's one step at a time here. I'm not holding back from you. I'm not acting like my return is some kind of breaking news. I tell it to you right now, but I have to pass this first test, quite frankly. That it's still out there. I got to pass it. If I pass that, I'll pass all of them. But I have to know that everything's out. Boom, step one down. So, step two, get in shape, get ready to go. I'm there. I'm in shape. I'm ready to go. Step three, be the baddest dude in the world. Come on, Ariel. Come on, buddy. I dominated. This is just a fact. Yeah. I dominated middleweight. There has never been a middleweight like me. The next closest guy is Anderson Silva. I got 2 10-8 rounds against Anderson. So that's just the truth. I have no equal at middleweight.
So it would be fair to say if you pass that test, Chael Sonnen is going to return to MMA. Is that not fair?
Chael Sonnen's going to give it a good look. I mean, that's just the truth. I'm not committed to it. And there's some moving parts. And it does come down to weight class. I tried my hand at 205. I had a little success, but that was all. I had more struggles than I did success. So you got to get the weight classes right. I got to talk to Clayton Hires. I got to see, what he wants to do and how we're going to do it. There's some steps there, man. I'm not holding back. I'm telling you everything I can. But that's it. That's all I can tell you.
But I envision on, I think, June 4th of this past year, a date that I will never forget, Chael Sonnen is either in Oregon or Bristol, Connecticut, and he sees Michael Bisping become the champion, a part of you is saying like, wait a second. I mean, I beat this guy, and I know it was a close one, but this is a contemporary. If he could be champion in 2016, why can't I?
Yeah, you think like that for sure. Now, I was pumped for Bisping and still am, and I don't understand. I mean, there was things said about Bisping that he shouldn't even have that shot, and I was so confused going, well, look, he just beat Anderson.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't he have this shot? He goes out, he proves it. And there's some rough guys in that weight. You know, I think that Yoel would give him a problem style-wise. Jacare, nobody's arguing against Jacare. He's got Dan Henderson in front of him. There's a lot of guys. I wouldn't just look at who the champion was, but, you know, you look at that 1 through 10, and, you know, I either beat him or, in theory, could do very well with them. So, yeah, you know, you think about that all the time.
I noticed on that 10-minute podcast you dropped this weekend that you said that you put out the blueprint as to how to handle these positive tests, and I agree with you 100%. In fact, I told you this the first time we spoke on your podcast. You come out, you're honest, you say, look, hands up, I fess up, I made a mistake, let's move on. People are very understandable. Are you surprised that so many of these fighters don't go that route and do the whole, I don't know what this is, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, I didn't even go as far as to say it was a mistake. Look, it was a premeditated decision done by a consenting adult. I just got jammed up. And people ask me all the time, why did you take it? It's like, why did I take? Because I didn't think I would get caught. What do you mean, why would I take it? What are you, stupid? I mean, come on. It was like the most ridiculous thing. And then Ariel, I watched guys come in the door behind me to the same commission. I watched them lie. They never fessed up. Some of them pretended to not speak English to not answer the question. They all had these BS stories while they're under oath. Look, you want to come on Ariel's show and tell your story? Go ahead. You want to come on my show? Tell your story. You go get sworn in. The gig is up. That's where you say what really happened.
Yeah.
You walk out of that room. You go back to telling your story. Guys went in there lying under oath. One of them claimed he didn't understand them. Oh, I don't understand you. Goes back to speaking English. You're going, this is ridiculous. Those guys all slid. Those guys are fighting. They were suspended after I was. They've already been in the octagon a couple times. I'm not faulting them. More power to them. But it is sometimes I do get confused and go, wait a minute. If you do everything right, you come in, listen, here's what happened. You got me. And you're going to sit twice as long as a guy that comes in with steroids. I never had steroids. The headlines, I was never even accused of steroids. You're going to come in and that guy's going to go back at it because he stuck to a story. I mean, there's something to just lie. I don't subscribe to it, but there is something to it, and they keep getting off.
Last time you were on this show, you used the term "basically clean." That has become this catchphrase. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
How would you describe yourself now?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. I think I don't want to be tested like everybody else, Daryl. I want it to be on a curve. I mean, a lot of things in life look like that. So I think that's a reasonable argument. I don't know if it'll hold up or not, but that's what I told him.
You also expressed some interest in fighting GSP. He was on this show shortly thereafter and sort of shot down that idea. A, what did you think of that? And B, if you get by and if all the ducks are in a row, blah, 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 is there anyone else you have your eye on?
Well, yeah, and I don't know that I'm looking to fight GSP or whatever, but if he came back and if you're asking me what a big fight would be, GSP, if he comes back, and I happen to think that he will, he might go all the way down to 155. I don't think that makes sense or that he should, but he might go all the way to 155. I mean, I don't know. There's something about moving up in weight that George has just never really wanted to do. We even missed out on the George versus Anderson fight. Excuse me, and it was a size issue. George there's something about, he gets his ideas in his head and he stays super focused and disciplined on them. So I had a phone call from GSP.
Oh.
And he calls me and he says, Chael, I'm going to do my best, GSP. Chael, are you out at the club? And I said, no, George, I'm in bed. And he says, why are you not at the club? And it's like, well, first off, in my town, we call them bars. We don't call them clubs. But secondly, I'm just not. He says, Chael, I really like you. And I said, well, I like you too, George. And he says, no. Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you, but I really like you. And I go, okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you, George. And he says, I think your commentary is very good. And I said, well, I try to just call it straight. And he goes, no. You do nothing straight. You are very ethically challenged. Nothing is straight, but I like you. He just kept insulting me while telling me he likes me. And it was hilarious. And I'm like, okay, George never calls me. If I call him, he'll call me back. If I text him, he'll text me. He never reaches out to me, And so it was just funny, just the whole thing. I'm like, George, and the whole time I'm thinking is he's complimenting me and insulting me. George, I just try to call it straight. No, you don't do anything straight. You are very corrupt. And it's like, okay, George, do we need to fight? Is that what this call is? Is that where this is going? Just a funny George story. He's great, though. George is great, and he works his ass off. He works so hard. Even when George travels, and he travels a lot, he always lines up workouts. You see him with Freddie Roach. He doesn't live in California, but if he visits California, he visits the Wild Card. He's focused, man. I don't know why he hasn't thrown his hat back in there.
I feel like it's still in play. I still feel like it's attainable for you, that fight.
It could. I mean, if I wanted to get it going, I'd get it going right now. But it's one of those things. He's in a different weight class. I don't have any. What am I trying to do there? So, and he's a buddy. What I'm going to come out and double cross him and stab him. But I would let him know first. Hey, George, I'm about to stab you in the back.
Yeah.
So just be ready for it.
Pull a little Ted Cruz on him.
It's the scorpion and the frog. He knows what it's like to be buddies with a gangster. Your number could come up at any time. Many of them have.
You be Ted Cruz, he'll be Donald.
What a suicide note Ted Cruz read, huh?
I know you have to go soon, so let me quickly ask you. You had your first Submission Underground event 2 weekends ago. How was it? Will there be a second one?
It was awesome. I mean, it was so much fun. You get into those spaces, you want to have fun. You got to do things right. You need some help with the card, and you have some luck that comes together. But when it all did, man, it was a ton of work. But when it all did, it was so much fun. And yes, we've already got a second date booked, December 11th. It'll be back in Portland. It's going to be great. We got some stuff in the works. In fact, I got a text message out to Bachecha right now. I'm waiting to hear back from him.
True or false, you will be competing against Tim Kennedy on that card, December 11th.
Supposedly true. I can't confirm it yet. Tim has said yes. I have said yes. Now it's just a matter of, can I do both? Can I promote and put a show on and then go out and compete it at the same time? I think that the answer is yes, but I need to talk to Tim. And that's it. Tim's always been in a tough spot area. Brian Stann had the same problem, right? You got these guys that are incredible fighters. They're good looking. They can talk. They can do everything, but they could never have an opponent. And this is one of the things that hurt Stan's career, and it's also hurting Tim's career. These guys are heroes. So they're off limits in so many ways. And it's like, it's really hard to get an opponent that's going to come out and do what needs to be done to hype something. I'm not that happy with Tim Kennedy right now, but most of it I have to keep inside. And I think that hurts the promotion. I think that it's hurt Tim's career, but I really don't know what to do with it. I can't say much about a guy that's out serving the country. I just can't.
Fair point, though. Tim has been a little more polarizing than Brian. I always felt that the most awkward booking in UFC history was booking you versus Brian Stann upon your return from that break post 117, because you literally could not say anything about Brian Stann, and it made you into this, choir boy, and no one wanted to see that. So I get what you're saying. Another true or false for you before I let you go. Ari Emanuel has called you up and said, "Forget fighting. We want you to be the face of the UFC."
No, okay. I have not heard. Here's my contact to Ari. I've met Ari and all that, but I've never talked business with him. By the way, is he going to CEO the company? He's not. He's CEOing the company that's going to run the company. Right? He's not stepping into Lorenzo's spot.
Not that I understand, but it's very unknown at this point. Not a lot of
it's very unknown.
Yeah.
I've never talked business with him. A former congressman in Oregon, Derek Kitts, who's a friend of mine, went to work for Ariel. I apologize. Yeah, Ari. So I talked to him through the congressman, but no, I've never talked business with him. And I'm very curious what he's going to do. And movie work sucks. Every actor wants to be an athlete. Every athlete wants to be an actor. You go out on those movie sets, man. It's hurry up and wait. Those jobs suck.
Okay, so final thing to wrap this up for the fans who are praying and wishing and hoping and trying to push you to come back. You're free. You can do what you want. You're in the testing pool. You hope to get a license if everything goes well, and you're leaning towards fighting again. We might even see you back in 2016. Fair?
Aaron, if I pass this first test, we could be having a totally different talk. But I mean, I'm just being candid with you. I really don't know what's going to happen or what's left.
When's the results coming?
That's the thing. Okay, so see, that's the thing, is you only get called if you fail the test.
Come on.
If you call these guys up like I want to do and go, hey, those results back, then they start going, well, why? Why would you not know you're going to pass? And it's like, guys, because I took everything in the world that you can't take. I don't know how to be any. This is what happened. Would you just tell me if I passed or not? And every time I ask someone like that, they act like it's the most corrupt question in the world. It's like, God, I just needed one test. If I pass one, I'm smooth sailing. But yes, this happened, and I need to know. And it doesn't matter how many times I ask here. It's like they think I'm kidding or something. It's like, no, this is what truth is. You guys just have never heard it before.
I look forward to your return, Chael. It's good.
Thank you, buddy. Could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine the excitement? Chael P. Sonnen, the one and only, often duplicated. I think I've already screwed up that promo. I think I already screwed up the promo. Can you believe that? That might be a first time, and it will still be gold, because if the bad guy makes the walk, Ariel, oh my goodness, the excitement that you would have, that would literally send chills up and down your scrawny little spine.
Thank you, Chael. Appreciate it.
What was the line I was looking for? Often imitated,
there you
never
go.
duplicated.
I was waiting for the,
Kaboom.
Oh, God bless Chael Sonnen. Great stuff there. Often imitated, never duplicated. But yeah, sounds to me like he is itching to come back. Welcome back, Chael Sonnen. Interesting stuff. All right, let us move along. It is a topic relevant to Chael Sonnen with everything going on behind the scenes. One man that is very much on top of all of those things and more. He is a partner of one George Lockhart. As I said, you've heard from George on this show. He works with the likes of Daniel Cormier, Luke Rockhold, Cain Velasquez, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and many, many more. Cormier in particular swears by him, and they all do. He is Daniel Leith. He is a nutritionist coach, partners, as I said, with George Lockhart over at VT Nutrition, and he is joining us.
I'm here, buddy.
It is great to have you on the show, Daniel. Thank you very much. So, it's interesting that we have you on right after Chael. This is your line of work. You know about this stuff better than anyone. How would you describe the current state of MMA as it pertains to all the ugly stuff that goes on behind the scenes, the supplements and all this stuff? Do you feel like it's slowly but surely getting cleaner because of USADA, or is there still a lot of work to do?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think with USADA coming in, it's just kind of opening people's eyes to, kind of a sad part of the sport. Guys are using things that they shouldn't be, and like Chael alluded to, guys are getting caught and lying as they're being caught. At least Chael's very candid and open about what he's done in the past, and I think with USADA coming in, they do a great job of being very professional about it and not allowing any room for any kind of banned substances or anything. I think they do a great job.
I was talking to DC recently about the work that you do for him, and he said among the many things that you do for him is like you actually, when USADA knocks on the door and asks them, okay, what are you taking? What kind of stuff? But you know by the gram, like you have to keep a journal of all this stuff. Is that exhausting and especially if you can't sleep with a fighter, you don't know what he's doing 24/7. You have to have that trust, because if for whatever reason he may stray, that at the end of the day can reflect poorly on you as well, right?
Absolutely. And that's, part of the trust I have with my athletes. And that trust is a two-way street. They trust that what I give them is going to benefit them and in no way affect their career negatively. And I trust that my athletes are going to do exactly that, take exactly what I am providing them and nothing else, so that, again, it doesn't reflect poorly on me. But no, when USADA comes and knocks at the door, it's not it's not a challenge for me at all. I keep a journal of everything that my fighters get. That's my responsibility to monitor to the gram every single nutrient that I provide my fighters, so that I know where I need to make adjustments during camp when I'm looking at how they're performing, how their weight is, coming down through camp. But when I go to work with a fighter, I stay there. I live with the fighter, so I might not be with them 24/7, but I'm about as close as I can be.
Your career arc is a very interesting one because you're a former Marine, right?
Yep.
Prior to that, you were a wrestler, correct?
Correct.
And what's interesting about your history in wrestling is you also suffered a pretty serious health scare as you were trying to cut weight, which connects you to Daniel even more so. I believe you suffered from renal failure. You just had a horrible weight cut did it almost kill you? Or it was very serious though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school, and at that point I had absolutely no idea about proper weight cutting methods. I didn't really know much about nutrition. I just did what my coaches told me to do, what had been handed down from wrestler to wrestler, and unfortunately is still the general rule with most wrestlers I talk to. And so it ultimately led to me going into renal failure, and you had to get rushed to the hospital, almost died from severe dehydration. And ultimately that led to me through a lot of crazy steps and hard work and luck to get where I am now, to end up working with a guy like Daniel Cormier, who at the most elite level ran into the same problem, and so that really opened my eyes even more to talk to a guy like Daniel Cormier to say, this happened to me at a very low level in high school, but it's happening all the way up at the elite level, at the Olympic level. And so, it doubled my resolve to help reach out to fighters and try to help them avoid the problems that Daniel and I have experienced.
Are you surprised, even at the highest level, the UFC level, how many weigh-in, I don't want to call them disasters, but we've seen some people fail to make weight. We've seen some pretty scary situations. Are you surprised that fighters can get to that point and still not truly understand how to properly cut weight?
I do. It's some of the things that I see guys do would absolutely blow your mind. And at that elite level, it's really, it saddens me. George and I talk about it constantly, that guys at that level with unlimited resources, with guys out there like George and I who are willing to do anything to help them, they just simply don't reach out. They stick to the same thing over and over. If it's not broke, don't fix it, until ultimately, they go through all this pain and hardship. And, we always say, you don't know what you don't know. The fighters don't know what a proper weight cut feels like. They think if they make weight, even though it's terribly taxing, they feel terrible. They made weight, so they must be doing it right. And then they come to work with George and I and feel what a proper weight cut is like. And like the guys that we work with, they never work with anybody else. They never turn back.
So I was reading an interview with you on a website called themanguide.com, and you were saying that it's almost ironic that as a nutritionist, you're preaching eating right and doing the right things, and then you have to help guys cut weight, which is a very unnatural thing to do and a very unhealthy thing to do. Is that the part of your job that you dislike the most? And do you have any sort of idea how to fix it, how we can because I feel like we are working towards, sadly, some bad thing happening with weight cutting, because there's a lot of guys coming into the UFC and on a very big stage, they just don't know what they're doing at times. Things can go horribly wrong as you lived through. So I'm wondering if you are uncomfortable with that aspect of your job and have any idea how to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a sad reality of the sport, and that's why I like doing what I do, at least knowing that the athletes that I do work with are not going to have those problems and are going to be able to make the weight safely and effectively and fight to their potential. But there's absolutely a risk out there. There's so many young fighters coming in that think that there's benefit to fighting at a lighter weight class, cutting extreme amounts of weight, and then doing it incorrectly, crash cutting at the last minute. And there's a huge risk. And even the fighters I work with who don't cut significant amounts of weight last minute, I still don't like to deplete those athletes at all. I would love to be able to provide them with exactly what they need to perform at their optimal level and to be as healthy as humanly possible throughout the entire camp. That's why I love working with heavyweights, because I can give them exactly what they need the entire time. But to fix that problem, I really don't know. I wish I had that answer. You know, I wish I would have athletes call me and say, hey, I want to fight up at a higher weight class. Can you help me gain weight? Can you help me fight at a higher weight class? But that's yet to happen. So I don't know. I think bringing USADA on and bringing people like Jeff Nowitzki in and these different athletic commissions, now with the early weigh-ins, I think they're making steps in the right direction. But until they add more weight classes or come up with tighter restrictions on hydration measurement during camp and during the fights, I don't know how you prevent guys from trying to get that advantage of being heavier on the day of weigh-in. The day of the fight?
Yeah. Are you in favor of no IVs?
I wouldn't say that I'm in favor of it. I don't know that there's a more efficient way to effectively rehydrate a person. But that's not the reality. I know that there's been a lot of criticism because of the IV ban, but that's not up to me to criticize. What's up to me is to look at what I have available. And so the only way to efficiently rehydrate my athletes now with the IV ban is oral rehydration. So, that's what George and I have focused the majority of our effort on as soon as that news came out. We started working with Jeff Nowitzki and Dr. Robert Kenefick now, who's the leading rehydration scientist in the world. He was out at UFC 200. I don't know if you got a chance to speak with him, but he's a brilliant guy. And George and I are working with him and working on perfecting our oral rehydration strategy we use with our fighters. And, the IV would be ideal, but I understand why USADA doesn't allow it. So I think that oral rehydration is effective, but it has to be done properly by a professional.
One thing that has been discussed as of late is adding more weight classes. Do you think that would be good?
Absolutely. I understand, from a promoter's perspective, why they maybe wouldn't want to do that, because it starts to thin the depth of each weight class. But absolutely, when you have more weight classes available, when you look at something like boxing, those fighters don't cut these extreme amounts. And you look at the giant gaps that we have in the UFC and MMA, it encourages the larger weight cuts. So I would love to see that, just encourage the fighters to cut less weight, to give them more options to fight at a more natural body weight. But we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
Recently, the UFC has instituted this early weigh-in, and I thought, I try to talk to all the fighters about it who have experienced it thus far, and for the most part, it's been a unanimous yes, we like it. But interestingly enough, Scott Holtzman, who's a young UFC fighter who competed in Sioux Falls just a couple of weeks ago, told me that he was talking to some people and he experienced this as well. He was having a very hard time sleeping the night before the weigh-in because the weigh-ins were so early that they tried to get on weight the night before, as opposed to the later weigh-in on Friday. You have a little more time, and because you're that dehydrated and perhaps a little bit anxious about the weigh-in in the morning, he had a really hard time sleeping the night before. A, have you experienced that so far? And B, are you in favor of the earlier weigh-in?
Yeah, I've absolutely experienced fighters dealing with issues sleeping all of fight week, and there's different things that we provide our fighters to help them sleep. We give them melatonin, we give them food all the way up till they weigh in that helps them feel satiated and helps them reduce that anxiety. But again, it's all about having a proper strategy in place, understanding when the weigh-in happens. I mean, UFC 199, when we did the first early weigh-in in LA, it was at 10. And then UFC 200, it was 8 in the morning. So you have to adjust, look at where your fighter's at, and then you're going to deal with that. You got to anticipate the fact that your fighter's going to be anxious. They're not going to be feeling that great at that, when they get down to that lower weight. But I try to encourage my fighters to get rest. We're not super depleted going into that Friday morning. We wake up early, we get down to where we need to, but my fighters aren't cutting such an extreme amount of weight last minute that they deal with that issue. But the early weight, the second part of your question, the early weigh-in, I think is fantastic. In the past, when fighters were cutting the last few pounds to get on weight, and then we would have to sit at that weight, at that level of dehydration and wait backstage, go over 2 weigh-ins, sit and wait until that was their time to go on stage, where now fighters wake up in the morning, they get down to where they need to get to, walk downstairs, weigh in, and they're only on weight for a very short amount of time. So that level of dehydration and the risk factors associated with it, that time is cut considerably. I mean, by hours and hours. So I'm hugely in favor of it just in terms of the overall safety of the fighter. I think it's an excellent way to go about it.
A lot of people, including myself, noted that it seemed like Cormier was having a tougher weight cut this time. And I know getting down to 205 is somewhat of a challenge for him. And he agreed with that. And he said that the stress of, the John Jones situation, new opponent, not knowing if he was going to fight, really messed up with his ability to cut that weight. Is that a real thing? Can that actually stop you from losing weight?
Absolutely. When we start to get really stressed out, our body starts to produce a lot of stress hormones, cortisol, aldosterone, vasopressin, and all these hormones that are defense mechanisms for our body, and they cause you to hold fluid. So, when our body starts to hold fluid like that because of that response to stress, the weight cut becomes more challenging. I think there was a lot of things that went into this camp with DC that made the weight cut more challenging. I don't think it was just one thing. But yeah, I absolutely think that was a real thing, and we were right on track. I mean, Daniel came in at 217 on Tuesday. We were 2 pounds lighter than we were for the Gustafsson fight, so everything was right on track, and he was feeling great. He looked great training during fight week, and then when all of that news hit, everything stopped. He wasn't performing as like he normally was. He was feeling terrible, and that stress it hit him like he hit a wall. So we got through it, but it was definitely not as smooth as I would have liked. But it's part of the business. We have to adjust.
I got into this space because I love covering mixed martial arts and everything that goes into it. I've had to learn so much more about this stuff, which is an interesting byproduct. I'm not complaining about it, but it's just dominated the news cycle, especially this year. And I'm wondering if you could tell me, like, the world of supplements, how dirty is it? How dangerous is it? Would you prefer if your fighters never use supplements? Because we've learned from Yoel Romero and others that you could be taking something, from GNC or whatever, and it could be tainted and you had no idea, but then you get popped and your reputation is ruined. Could you tell us, in your opinion, like, does it completely scare you? Because again, that could fall on your reputation, or do you at this point know the right ones and are 100% certain always that those are clean?
Yeah, it absolutely scares me. I think it's a very, very highly funded and under-regulated industry. There's a ton of risk involved when fighters are given supplements from sponsors that are not reputable companies. There are companies out there that I use, that George uses, that go out of their way, spend money out of their pocket to get vetted, get audited by an accredited third party like NSF or like the Banned Substances Control Group, and they put their labels, they put that proudly right on their label. Anybody out there listening right now can go to any supplement store in the country and look at a supplement. It'll have a big gold label on it that says, BSCG or NSF or GMP, and those are all there to show you, look, we purposely were vetted by an accredited third party to test all the substances we're putting in here so that you can read our label and know that what we say is on this label is what's actually in this. And the best laboratories in the country are testing our procedures, our ingredients to make sure that doesn't happen. But, then you have to go a step farther, because just because it has that label doesn't necessarily mean it isn't on the WADA or USADA banned substances list. It doesn't mean they're going to fail that test. So, you have to, when you do provide a supplement to a fighter, know that it is tested by an accredited third party, and then look at those ingredients that you're providing and ensure that they're not on that banned substances list, or something in there can't be converted in your body to a substance that is on that banned substance list. So there's a great deal that has to go into understanding exactly what's going into that fighter and how it's going to be converted in their body into what chemical reactions are going to happen. So all of that said, yeah, it's a very, very complicated thing to give a fighter a supplement. I do think that there are some supplements out there that do improve performance that are beneficial to a fighter, but they're very limited. When you give a fighter proper nutrition, there's almost nothing that exists that you can provide them through supplementation that they can't get through food, and get through food more efficiently. Food provides greater bioavailability of the most of the supplements out there. So George and I generally just advocate proper nutrition over supplementation.
And again, the company is Fitness VT. I may have said a different name at the top, and I apologize for that. Fitnessvt.com is where you can learn more about what Daniel and George do. I may be putting you on the spot here, but I think it's fair to say in the USADA era, if you're fighting in the UFC, you should have some kind of nutritionist coach with you. There's just too much at stake. And if I'm a fighter coming up and I want to hire Daniel Leith to work with me, could you tell me ballpark how much it will cost me?
It depends on the capacity that you want to hire us. I mean, the vast majority of young fighters that George and I work with, we don't work with in the capacity that I work with a Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier flies me out a month in advance. I live with him and his family. I provide every meal. I cook everything that he eats. I'm a live-in cook. I even drive him to practice every day. So to hire us in that capacity is cost prohibitive, I think, maybe to some fighters. But George and I charge $1,500 for fight week to do their entire weight cut and all of their oral rehydration. And you're talking about an oral rehydration strategy that is vetted and designed by, again, guys like Dr. Robert Kennefick, the leading research scientists in the world, giving George and I guidance on exactly every micronutrient, every drop of everything that will drive fluid and electrolytes back into the cell the most efficiently. And again, $1,500 for the lowest level fighter, I think, is very reasonable.
Yeah. I would agree with that as well. So again, the website, fitnessvt.com. His name is Daniel Leith. Great guy and a pretty good bodyguard to have in your corner as well. When you're walking next to those big guys, you play the part as well. Like, I don't want to mess with you and the beard and the tattoos and the haircut and all that. Like, you're rather intimidating as well. So I think that you add much more than just a nutritionist to the team, if I'm being honest. Good part of the crew.
Well, that's funny, Ariel. I appreciate it, buddy. But no, I have to do something to look tough in front of all those guys.
That's right. Keep up the great work, man. They swear by you, and the results speak for themselves. Great to have you on the show for the first time, and continued success to both you and George.
Ariel, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. There he is, Daniel Leith, stopping by. Like I said, work speaks for himself. Cormier, Kane, Khabib, Rockhold, and many others swear by both him and George Lockhart. Okay, let's move along. Welcome in our next guest. She had a very busy weekend in Chicago. Not only was she all over the place, they also announced her next fight. Finally, over a year later, we're getting the return of the karate hottie. Michelle Waterson is returning in September to fight Ash the Bash Daly. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to talking to Michelle Waterson. Michelle, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure as always. Great to have you on the show. So, okay, let's talk about Chicago first. Seemed like a fun trip for you. You were doing a lot, but ended on somewhat of a sour note. Was that hard for you to watch, be in attendance, and watch Holly's fight?
Oh, yeah, it's always hard, especially, Holly. She's one of my closest friends, and I just know how hard she worked for this camp. And, I see all the background that everybody else doesn't get to see. And so it is hard to watch that fight. But Holly's a one-of-a-kind person. And if there's anybody that is, walk away from this learning something, it'll be her. And it'll just make her stronger,
Just one other thing on Holly. How is she handling things?
She's good. That's how she is. She dusts herself off. She gets back up and gets back on the horse. That's Holly. In every way, that's how you handle life, and that's how she handles life. When you get knocked off, you just dust yourself off and get up.
This felt like a big unveiling or re-unveiling of you. Like, they had you all over the place doing all kinds of things at the workouts, at the Cubs game, and it coincided with your return fight being announced. Was that a coincidence, or was that all planned? Like, this is the big return of Michelle Waterson. We're just going to put her everywhere the week that we announce her fight again.
I think it was just a coincidence, because I was already scheduled to be out in Chicago before I even know that I was fighting. Because to be honest with you, usually I don't go anywhere once I know that I'm fighting. I'm just here at home training, and so it was just a coincidence, but it was a good coincidence. Holly was fighting. All the coaches were out there, so I was able to go out to Chicago, do some cool PR and get some good training in. So it was a win-win.
What was it like being on the field at Wrigley Field? It seemed via social media that you were excited about the opportunity and the experience. What was it like for you?
It was crazy. There's a lot of history there.
Yeah.
And, you don't realize how magnificent a place it is until you're, on the field and you're looking up and the stands are crowded with people, and it's just enormous. And like I said, there's so much history there. So it was a good experience, really cool.
I did notice that you were hanging out with the champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. You were chummy with her, taking pictures and stuff like that. Is that weird for you? Because you want to fight this woman. You want to beat her, I'm sure. What was that experience like?
It's not weird. At the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all fighting for the same thing. And, I think as a fighter, you kind of gauge how the other person's, going to react towards you. Plus, Yana came down to the gym a couple months ago before or right after the show was over. She trained for a week. But, like I said, you have mutual respect for somebody that does the same, things that you do. And that's exactly what it is. She was respectful towards me. I was respectful towards her. And we had a good time.
All right. Fair enough. So you get this daily fight. I remember talking to you not that long ago, and you said that you wanted someone in the top 10 in your return. Based on the UFC rankings, which are very flawed, she is not in the top 10. In fact, I don't believe she's in the top 15. So what did you think when they offered you that fight?
I think that anybody in the division right now, since it's so new, is going to be a challenge for me. The fact that I've been out for a year kind of has a role to play with that, I guess. I don't know. But to be honest with you, I think that she's a huge threat. If you look at her record, the people that she's lost to are top level fighters. But Bart Hancock, she was Invicta champion. Claudia Gadelha, she's fought a lot of top ranked fighters, and she likes to submit people, which is what I like to do. I think it's a great matchup for my first fight back in over a year.
How do you feel about fighting in Germany?
I think it'll be fun. It'll be my first time fighting overseas, but I look forward to going to Germany. My little sister was born there.
Oh.
So we lived there when I was younger for about 2 years.
Whoa.
When my dad was still in the military.
Oh.
So I'm looking forward to going overseas.
So you're going to be the local favorite. You got to play that up more.
Yeah.
Where in Germany were you born?
No, not me. My little sister.
Oh, your little sister. Okay, where was she born?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. It was so long ago.
Okay.
I just remember seeing pictures of me, on Oktoberfest at 2 years old with a beer in my hand.
Wow. Your parents like to party.
Yeah, a little bit.
So it has been an interesting year for you due to the injuries. First, I think there was the hand injury right after the debut, and then you suffered a knee injury. Did I miss anything in between there?
And then I re-broke my hand after my knee got better.
That's right. Jeez, how did you deal with all that mentally? The stops and starts, the speed bumps and all that. I mean, that's got to take a toll.
It does, especially I wanted to be able to capitalize off the momentum of winning my first UFC debut, and stuff happens. I would say the other word because it is more fitting, but
yes.
That's just life, and you have to be able to fight the things that life throws at you. Because if you can't handle, the things that life throws at you, then you won't be able to handle the fight. So I just take it as, some adversities that are going to make me stronger in the cage.
That division is super interesting. Did you kind of did you feel at some point, perhaps more recently, as you were further and further removed from your debut, that people were forgetting about you, that when talking about the top dogs in that division, that there was less talk about you just because you had been away? And did that motivate you more?
I really don't care if my name's not in there. I think that when I am in the cage on the third, I'll be able to show, what I've been working on this year out. And I have a lot of teammates in the gym that, kept me motivated, kept me in the gym, and reminded me, while all these girls are fighting each other, I have an advantage, and I can sit back and watch them fight each other and then come in and see what they've done, fighting each other and capitalize on that.
As far as the injuries are concerned, are you in the clear? Are you feeling at least close to 100% now?
I am 100%.
All right.
Definitely 100%. Physically, mentally, everything. I feel great.
Are you shocked to see how dominant Joanna has been as champion? I don't think a lot of people saw this coming when she came into the UFC, just because she had very little experience.
No, I'm not shocked. I think
you're not.
that she has what it takes to be the champion. I know that I predicted against her because I thought that Claudia would change her game plan after fighting her the first time. But that didn't happen, and that proves why Johanna was able to continue to be the champion because she pushed past the theory that Claudia gave her those first 2 rounds and was able to capitalize after that and take over. That's what it takes to be a champion, and nobody's been able to surpass that.
In the top 5, do you see anyone beating her before you get a crack at her? Do you see any threat right now in the top 5 or so of that division?
I'm really excited to see how Rose does against the other Polish fighter.
Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Yes, Karolina's really good. And between those two, I think that's going to be an awesome fight, definitely contention for the title. And, if Rose is in the right mind state, I think that she'll be able to give Johanna a good little competition.
Yeah. And that fight, of course, this weekend at UFC 201. If the UFC announced today that they were starting a 105-pound division, would you move down right away?
No, I feel good at 115.
Okay. So you feel like that's the natural weight class for you now. You don't feel like they're bigger than you or anything like that.
They are, but, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
That is true. Well said. What is the vibe like at the gym these days with, some of the drama happening with some of the other fighters? Is the vibe okay? Do you feel like everyone needs a pick-me-up? How would you describe it?
The vibe at the gym is always, the problems happening externally doesn't penetrate the gym. I think that we have a real strong core family value in the gym, and we don't let that stuff seep in because otherwise it would poison everything. And when we come to the gym, that's everybody's safe haven. So we come to the gym and we know we can feel safe and comfortable there to trust our team to be there for us when we need them the most.
Mm-hmm. Now this is the big question. When's that amazing documentary about you coming out? I've been waiting. I thought it was supposed to be out already. What's going on?
I know. Right now, it's going to come out very soon, before the end of the year is up. I'm very excited for it. I got to watch the final cut. And It's amazing. Sean did a great job of putting it together, and brought some tears to my eyes. I got to see my little one grow up before my eyes. But right now, we're like in negotiations. So we got some good news coming up soon, hopefully.
Oh, wow. The director is Sean Menard, as you said. The name of the documentary is Fight Mom. I've seen the trailer. If that is an indication of how it looks So you actually got to see the final cut. Is that somewhat surreal for you to see? Because they followed you for like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So what's it like to see yourself in that? I mean, very few people get to watch a documentary about their own life with your young daughter a part of it and your family and everything. What was that like as an experience emotionally? What was that like?
I think it's crazy. You get so caught up in training and sometimes it becomes a routine, the things you do in and day out, not just as a fighter, but also as a mother and a wife. And when somebody's able to follow you for 2 years and kind of piece together, this story and make it somewhat of an inspirational story, it's kind of cool because, you don't realize the things that you do have an impact on people. And then when you see it from the outside looking in, it's very inspiring.
Is UFC getting behind this? Are they going to push this as well?
I hope so.
All right. I hope so as well. So you don't know exactly when it's going to come out or how it's going to come out, how people can watch it. That is to be determined?
I do not.
Okay.
But when I find out, I will let you know.
All right. Fair enough. For now, we can look forward to your return. It is September 3rd in Hamburg, Germany against Aisling Daly. The long-awaited return of Michelle Waterson. It has been a while, but a lot of people are very excited. I put the news out last week, and wow, the response, I'm sure you got it as well, was a very positive one. People have missed you, so that is good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you for the time, Michelle, and best of luck in training as you prepare for the fight.
Thank you so much. I miss being in the cage, so I'm going to give everyone a show.
All right. We look forward to that. There she is, Michelle Waterson, stopping by. Great to hear from the karate hottie herself. Certainly a player in that division, currently ranked number 11 in the UFC's ranking system. Take that with a grain of salt. Let's see. Looking at the ranking system right now. One of my favorite things to do is look at the ranking system and see how many people have dropped off and how many people are a part of it and how many people I've never met and how many people I haven't seen in a long time and how many outlets, the mainstream ones are represented. I mean, what do we have? We have the Burbank Leader, the Cherokee Scout, AM New York, KIOZ San Diego, VladusSport.com, CFMU 93.3 FM, Scripps Howard, MMA Brasil. A lot of power. A lot of fighters pay attention to that, and they'll use it, when necessary to their advantage. Fighters, managers, matchmakers, promoters. All right, so there you have it. A bit of a break now as far as the interviews are concerned. Fun stuff so far. In around 50 minutes, we're going to be joined by Michael Venom Page of Bellator fame. And in around an hour and 10 minutes, we are going to be joined by the one and only KFC King himself, Mark Hunt. So stay tuned for that. For now, let's take some questions and comments. Welcome in Mr. New York Rick, fresh off the plane in, where was he? Virginia. Norfolk, Virginia? Fairfax, Virginia.
Nope, Norfolk. Had it right the first time.
Got a haircut over there. That was big news.
That's the news of the day, the haircut.
How can you trust some...
Listen.
Yeah. You can't just walk into some random place and say, okay, I'm trusting you. I mean, you've been working on that thing for how long?
Well, they didn't touch the top.
I know, but they could do something crazy. Who knows?
I would never.
Yeah.
No, the sides are simple. I mean, look, it wasn't the best.
It wasn't, right? He messed it up.
He didn't mess it up, but
It's easy to mess up hair. I tell that to people about my own hair. You can mess it up. It's easy.
Yours seems very easy.
No, trust me. I have had nightmarish trips to the barber shop.
It's also a comfort thing. It's like it's your
comfort
guy
thing.
or your girl,
Yeah,
whoever cuts your hair, like they're your person, and then it's a comfort thing.
Unsolicited plug, my man Manny in Ridgewood, Queens /Bushwick. Crew barber, check him out.
Queens stand up.
It's just an amazing place. He's the guy. Manny, big MMA fan. Go check him out. How was Virginia?
Great event.
My man,
Chai, as you
Chopper
mentioned.
Chai. So, I mean, let's grade that performance. There was a lot going on Friday night. There was Bellator.
Yep.
And, their whole thing, and we'll talk about that in a second. There was Chopper Chai doing his thing for Glory, Fight Pass.
There was a lot going on.
And the Mackenzie Dern debut.
Yep.
But it all timed well. I got to watch Chopper's fight.
Yep.
Were we happy with it, or should he finish that guy in the first round?
See, for people who don't watch Glory, don't watch kickboxing, Maurice Green is super tough.
He is.
Anderson Silva, Anderson Braddock Silva, the other Anderson Silva as they sometimes call him.
Yeah.
Recently fought Maurice Green, beat him pillar to post, 3 rounds, just couldn't take him out. And he's fighting Rico for the title next. Anderson Silva is. So he's very good.
Rico who?
Verhoeven.
I thought they just announced Rico's fight.
They did.
It's against Anderson?
So Rico's fighting Anderson for the title in September in New Jersey.
Oh, that's right.
And
wait, they just announced Rico Verhoeven versus Badr Hari.
Correct.
Which is a huge fight. So he has 2 fights booked.
He's got 2 fights booked.
That's akin to the 3 title fight curse. You can't book a fight after another fight and the other fight didn't happen yet. That is just playing with fire.
Yeah, certainly things can happen, but
that is crazy. I don't like that. Why not just book the Badr Hari fight? Why do the other fight? Why are they going to Trenton, New Jersey also?
It's a good, it's a
good market.
Jersey's a good market.
All
yeah,
right.
you know that. Tri-state area. Lou Neglia is involved. He's a good promoter.
Oh, he's involved there. Okay, but why book 2 for aren't you? That's a huge fight, Badr Hari.
It is a huge fight.
So why book him in the other fight first?
Rico likes to stay active. He's defending his title for the 5th time.
So did he re-sign with Glory? Because wasn't there some talk that he was a free agent and he was thinking about going MMA and all that stuff?
He has re-signed for this fight.
Well, 2 fights.
Well, see, this is a non-title fight, so this is a separate transaction.
What is the non-title fight?
With Badr? Badr is not a title fight.
Why?
It's just not a title fight. Badr's not fighting for the title.
See,
Rico's
this is
not
why
defending
I can't follow kickboxing. It's all too confusing.
What do you mean? How is this confusing?
I just don't
It's
get it.
a non-title fight.
All right. Well, what if he loses the title to Anderson Silva?
Yeah, I mean, what? Like Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin. Were you confused when he didn't fight for a title?
No, but
or?
they didn't book another fight after that. They didn't book the title fight first and then the non-title fight afterwards. It's all very confusing.
No, nothing confusing.
All right.
He's defending his title, and then he's not. And then, look, let's get back to Chopper Chai. Rico versus Badr, huge. Not until December. Chopper Chai.
Chopper Chai.
Good performance. Maurice Green is very tough.
He wants to
and also,
fight
you have
in
to
MMA.
remember, Chopper was off for a year.
That's true.
And came back in.
That is true.
I was impressed. I think people came away pretty happy.
How about from a promotional standpoint, the nightmare that Bellator experienced on Friday? I mean, holy moly.
Yeah.
First, they're touting Darion Caldwell as, the next big thing, and all signs pointed to him being the next big thing. And then he loses in stunning fashion. Did you see that?
Well, I did.
And what were the odds? It was something crazy, like 14-1 or something?
Yeah, I think it was. I think that's exactly it. As far as the underdog, I think he was 14-1. But this is the problem with not being prepared for the opponent to win. This is the problem with, building up people by putting them in against people who, if they win, you have no promotional pull that you can put behind.
Baby Joe Temanglo, this guy misses weight, the pride of Guam.
Yeah.
I know he was on a winning streak. I think he had won 3 in a row or so, but he misses weight before the fight.
Yep.
So now you can't really give him the title shot, or maybe you can because it's Bellator and they play by their own rules. But Caldwell goes to his bread and butter, goes for the single leg, and then gets caught. Guillotine, taps out, shocking stuff. They played with fire. He should have gotten the title shot after his last win. And, the guy beats Joe Warren in March. Give him the title fight. Signs a new deal, give him the title fight. But, look, you win one more, you're back on track. It's not, it's not the end of the world. Still stunning to see. And then now they don't really have any contenders at 135 unless you give Baby Joe the title fight. But the other thing was they were pushing these 2 Brazilian females, right? Bruna Vargas and Bruna Ellen. 2 Brunas, one first name, one last name. And they both lost. Pushing them, I mean, it was kind of obvious why they were pushing them, let's be real. Attractive females, seem to fight well, very inexperienced. Emily Ducote rocks her with a bullet of a right hand and then rear naked choke. Ellen loses via unanimous decision. I mean, this was kind of nightmarish. Now, Melvin Gillard also missed weight, but he won and then called out Paul Daly, which I loved, by the way. That's a great call out. And then
we'll touch on that one.
All right.
The people were not silent on that call out from Paul.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I'm sorry, from Melvin.
Yeah, I was like, wow, everything that could go wrong went wrong on this show. It was entertaining, but from a promotional standpoint, I was like, oof, what a headache. So yeah, interesting night for Bellator. Interesting night on Friday. There's a lot going on, non-UFC action, but it was very busy. So what do we got? What do we got? Anyone ask us any questions this week? What do we have?
That was it.
That's it? All right.
Done.
I'm done. Woo.
Okay.
By the way, can I just say one thing about Horrible? You remember like around December, we were talking about, in around 4 or 5 months, and I love the guys at Jackson Wink, but wow. We were talking about in around 4 or 5 months, they could have 4 champions. They had Carlos Condit fighting. They had John Jones about to fight. Who else did we have? I was just counting this.
Alistair Over.
No. They had Holly Holm, who was champion, and then there was one more, Arlovsky, because he was fighting Stipe Miocic, UFC 195.
Yeah, for the title shot, right?
They were in position to potentially have 4 champions by like May or June, right? None of those things happened. Condit lost.
Well, no.
Cerrone's another one. What do you mean he did become champion? Interim champion?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
What do you mean?
Stop it with that. So, you think they wanted this situation? Don't play devil's advocate on me as I'm trying to hammer this point. Cerrone loses. Arlovsky loses. Condit loses. Jones. Holly now loses. Jeez. Who saw this coming? Shocking.
Yeah, that's a rough stretch. And I'm trying to think of an equivalent. I mean, there was a time where Black Zillions were going through a stretch like this, and then they flipped it completely around. So...
but nothing pisses me off more than Holly Holm still having to answer to the fact that she oh, you took a risk. You took a risk because you were doing your job. You took a risk because you didn't want to sit on the sidelines indefinitely in the prime of your career as you're approaching your mid-30s and you've been fighting for like 15 years. You took a risk. Why? The first question that she had to answer after the fight is like, oh, you took a risk. Like, what's the risk? She was getting paid. She didn't want to sit on the sidelines. She didn't want to let someone else dictate the path of her career. And yet, like, we're forcing this young woman to continuously defend doing her job. And yet we have all these other champions who win the belt and then go on these like 11-month breaks. She was right back in there. Like the second she won the belt, she's right back in there fighting in March against anyone. She said, okay, give me Miesha Tate, no problem. Then she fights Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, we should be celebrating Holly Holm. And you can make the case, you know, is she the Buster Douglas, which I think is ridiculous. I had a friend of mine, a non-MMA friend of mine who's a boxing fan, is like, is Holly Holm the Buster Douglas of MMA? And I'm like, what? This is a ridiculous comment. She was way more talented, way more successful than Douglas leading up to that Ronda Rousey fight. She completely annihilated Ronda Rousey. And then she was, 2 minutes away from beating Miesha Tate. And she lost to a better fighter on Saturday. But I don't think anything that happened in the last two fights should make us think differently of her win back in November. And I think she needs to stop having to answer this stupid question. If anyone asks her about the risk, quote unquote risk, of not waiting for Ronda, if Ronda Rousey told her that she was coming back in November, then maybe we could talk about this supposed risk. But Ronda Rousey's not coming back anytime soon. She has not told the UFC that she is ready to come back on X date. Why do we keep asking her this? Why do we keep making her rethink her decision to pursue a career as a prize fighter? That's what she's done. That's what she's always done. It doesn't make sense. It pisses me off. It really does. First question she has to answer, risk. What risk? What are you talking about? She's fighting. It's a pleasure. Stop making her feel like crap. Do you not agree?
I do agree. There is. She's not risking anything more than she would have previously. The Ronda fight is not a tangible thing. It doesn't exist. So there is no, she's not sacrificing or compromising anything because it wasn't there to begin with.
You're risking more by sitting on the sidelines and waiting. She's gone 2 paydays, one with pay-per-view points on the biggest pay-per-view of the year, bigger than 200 probably.
And
where's the risk?
Here's more importantly, I don't think this loss precludes her from a fight with Ronda Rousey anyway. Like, I don't think
couldn't agree more.
This does anything to hurt her stock in that specific fight. It really doesn't. I'm with you. It doesn't really make sense. But I do think it's not an indictment, but actually the opposite. People think highly of Holly Holm and think that she's worthy of that fight and want to see it. I think their concern is that she's potentially compromising it, but I don't think that's actually the case at all. So I'm with you. Stay active. Why sit on the sidelines and wait for something that may or may not ever come, and who knows when? It is silly.
Dennis Green, a coach in the NFL, the late Dennis Green, who suddenly passed away tragically last week, had a very famous line in a post-game press conference after he was coach for the Arizona Cardinals, and they were playing a team. Was it the Vikings?
I want to say the Bears.
Yeah. Who was it? Someone will tell me. He had this line where he said, they are who we thought they were, right?
And we let them off the hook.
Does that apply, in your opinion, to Holly Holm? Because remember, when this fight with Ronda Rousey was booked, everyone thought, like, what? They're putting her in there. She's inexperienced. She didn't look that great against Marion Renault and Raquel Pennington. She didn't have the killer instinct she was missing. And then, of course, afterwards, everyone was like, oh, I saw this coming. But in hindsight, was she who we thought we were? Was she who we thought she was?
Which was what?
This person who no one thought she was going to beat Ronda Rousey. So,
but she did. I mean, no matter what we think of what happened previously or now, she on that night.
Yes, but
she got it done.
You get my question. Was she not as good as we all thought she was? This is what people are claiming. That's the Buster Douglas question. I know the answer to that question. My answer to that question.
I think that's silly. I think, and if you remember, I don't remember when this was, but we've had a conversation about our pet peeves in MMA. My pet peeve in MMA is after somebody loses, they're the worst fighter on the planet. Bar none, every time it happens. Holly Holm lost, she's exposed. She was never any good. She's Buster Douglas. Whatever it is, I'm sick of that epic proportions. It's the biggest trash thing that happens amongst MMA fans. Nobody in MMA is going to be unscathed. It just doesn't happen. It's not boxing. You can't pick and choose. You can't build yourself up to a contender and then, take cupcake fights until you fight the champion. It just doesn't happen. Holly Holm took a difficult fight. She lost it. And there's nothing else that needs to be said about her. It's not an indictment on her entire career. She beat Ronda Rousey, which is an accomplishment. Nobody had done it to that point. And if she fought her again, I have to imagine the odds would be relatively close. People would be expecting her to be competitive again. So short answer, silliness. Let's stop with the, burying somebody after they lose.
Holly is a fantastic fighter and obviously the bigger name. To me, the big story was just how good Valentina Shevchenko looked.
For sure. That's what we need to be focusing on. For sure.
I mean, this is a person who is eating steak the night before her fight, the night before the weigh-ins. She should really be fighting at 125. She's unbelievably strong. Her coach was shot like 2 months before the fight. She does not pull out. The coach makes it. She loses the first round, is able to figure her out, and is just, she beat Holly, at her own game, Valentina's game, and Holly's game. It was a fantastic fight. Fantastic performance. This is a person who won the third round against Amanda Nunes. I know that was brought up throughout the broadcast. But to me, and last thing I'll ask you before we get to the questions, do you agree with me that, yes, it is a quote-unquote mess, but it's kind of a fun mess, right? I mean, this is what we've been asking for in that division. We want contenders.
Nobody's head and shoulders above the rest. Everybody's a few fights away. It's exciting. When the moment Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey, that division became very exciting again, and even more so to this point. Now it's completely wide open. Nobody's been dominant. Now there's people who will say that the belt being passed around is not a good thing. I tend to lean toward the idea that dominant champions, especially when there's a lot of them, can be kind of boring. I think. This is more exciting. We've got a lot of exciting matchups. And then there's non-title matchups that are exciting as well. So I'm all for this division right now. I think it's exciting.
True or false? Yep. Holly Holm will hold the UFC championship again.
Let's think about who she would face. I'm going to go with true.
True or false? Ronda Rousey will hold the UFC title again.
I'm also going to go with true.
Wow, it's a lot of trues, man.
Can't have two champions come back and take their belts. I think both of those are true.
All right.
And I could see it happening either way as well. I could see Ronda winning and Holm beating her, and I could see Holm winning and Ronda beating her to reclaim a belt. I think both will reclaim the championship.
This thing is going to keep changing hands.
I think it will. Okay. Let's talk about who's next for the title shot.
Yeah.
Is it Valentina? Was that performance enough to get her the title shot? Is it Juliana?
It's Juliana. Okay, wait. We know already that if Ronda's coming back...
It's her.
Yeah.
Sure.
But let's just say she's not coming back in the next 6 months, right? Let's just say she's not the answer, because that's the obvious answer, right? I go with Juliana. I think she's done enough. I think she's undefeated in the UFC. She won the Ultimate Fighter. I think that, I want to see that fight. We just saw the Nunes-Shevchenko fight. I don't think Nunes has gone 1,000 times better since March. I do think a 5-round fight could play out very differently. But we just saw it, and I think it hurts her a little bit in that regard. Under any other set of circumstances, you beat Holly Holm, you should get a title shot. But I think Juliana deserves it.
Does this help her? Does the fact that this card was billed as Holly Holm and everybody else... defeating Holly Holm in these circumstances, does that help her? Does that
1,000% it helps her? But I still kind of feel like, I don't know. I just feel like you got to reward Juliana winning the Ultimate Fighter, beating everyone they put in front of her, beating Kat Zingano. I think she's done enough, and I want to see her get that title shot. She's entertaining. She cut a hell of a promo today. It's not all about that, but. Unfortunately for Shevchenko, she just fought Nunes, and again, I don't think it's egregious if you make that fight, but I think it's weird to skip over Pena at this point. And so I'd like to see that, and I think that there are options for Shevchenko. You can go the Miesha Tate route, you can go maybe the Sarah McMahon route, who's been vocal. She has an interview up on the site with Mark Ramundi. There are some options for her. I'd like to see her maybe get one more. And I think for her own good, getting maybe trying to go for a fight where there's a finish. I mean, it's not all about that, but maybe one more win could help her Q rating, so to speak. So that's what I would do. If Ronda's not available, I go with Juliana Pena next.
For what it's worth, I am with you. I think Juliana's resume looks good. She's talking the talk. She's walking the walk. I think it's Juliana.
And I think Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes is a fun fight.
Absolutely.
And we haven't seen it.
Let's do that one. Okay. 3 of the last 5 cards have been headlined by women.
Yeah.
Are you surprised by how women have been accepted in MMA and the UFC specifically compared to other sports? It's not often that women would get top billing.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting scenario that we're dealing with right now.
You know, one of the interesting things to witness over the last couple of years in our sport is this sport at times can be filled with a lot of bros and alpha males and people who aren't very culturally sensitive and things of that nature. But you can make a very strong case that as far as sports are concerned, this is one of the more progressive sports out there. In very few other sports, perhaps tennis and golf, and I don't even know if golf is in that discussion right this moment because there's no real massive stars. Tennis 100% is. That you can put, a female fight or female competitors, female athletes on the same footing as their male counterparts and no one bats an eye. Headlining a UFC pay-per-view with 2 females is not a big deal at all. No one feels like they're not getting their money's worth. No one complains. No one, I mean, of course, there's going to be some vocal minority out there, but they are 100%, as far as acceptance is concerned, at the same level. And now they may not get the same kind of, I don't know, money, things of that nature. That stuff is very hard to gauge because those numbers aren't official. But who would have ever thought that a sport like mixed martial arts would be like that? And also interesting that in boxing, it's the complete opposite. Could you imagine headlining an HBO show? I mean, the history of HBO boxing and Showtime boxing, I wonder what the answer to this question is. How many times have females headlined one of those telecasts? In their history. I don't even know if it is 3 times. So we've just had 3 in the last 5 in the UFC. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I can't even answer the question. I don't know why. Maybe it's the talent level. Maybe it's the way the sport is. All right, tell me.
And I didn't think of it until just this moment. In the UFC and in MMA, women fight by the same rules. They have the same rule set. They have the same regulations. In other sports, women's sports, the rules, the boundaries, everything is different. Not everything. That's a mischaracterization. But there are different rules in place. Smaller ball this, different pitching mound this, less sets, whatever the case may be. In MMA, everything is equal. The females get into the same cage as the males, the same size, have the same rules in place. And I think that actually goes a long way, and I didn't even think of that until now. But I think that's an important factor in this, in that they're not treated as differently, so they aren't different. And it's kind of, I'm kind of proud of that. I think MMA is important in this regard.
On the biggest weekend, arguably in the history of the sport, you had a Friday night show headlined by 2 women. You had UFC 200, and I know there were circumstances that played into this, headlined by 2 women. You had the prelims headlined by 2 women. That Wednesday, you had the prelims headlined by 2 women. This past Saturday, you had the main event headlined by 2 women. You also had the opener, Felice Harry, Kylan Curran, headlined by 2 women. This weekend, the co-main event is headlined by 2 women. It's unbelievable. And I never feel like I'm not getting my money's worth. In fact, again, I feel like the fights are pound for pound just as, if not more, entertaining at times. Now, there's less female fights, so we're playing with a shorter, more shallow pool. But they have certainly earned their right at the table. And who would have thought Ronda Rousey not being a factor in 2016, and no one feels that she's missing? Of course, we'd love to have her back. She brings a lot of attention, but no one feels like anything is lacking. No one feels like we're missing out as far as competition is concerned, stories are concerned. They are 100% for real. They are as equal as possible with their male counterparts. And it is somewhat surprising when it comes to MMA because, you could say that at times this isn't a very progressive sport, or no one could have seen this coming given the trajectory of the sport. But wow, what a shocker.
Yep, and Invicta this Friday.
And Invicta coming back this Friday, and they're doing their thing. Yeah,
it's
and Bellator had their. Bellator goes a little bit. I'd like to see Bellator take women's MMA a little more seriously. I think at times it's a bit transparent what they're doing, and of course there's a market for that. But you gotta check off both boxes.
Sure.
It can't just be about looks. You got to find those ones who are, for your sake, if they're good looking, great, but they have to be great fighters as well. First and foremost, that needs to be the first box. The other stuff is gravy. And that helps with male fighters as well. It's just not talked about as much and not done as egregiously.
Yep.
But you need to find great fighters, and the rest will follow. And I think that they're a little too blatant with that. Would you agree?
Yes.
You don't have to hesitate. There's nothing wrong about saying that. I get what they're doing. It's just a little too blatant. You got to find the talented, and you got I don't even know who's the champion at 120. Do they even have a champion at 125? Do they even have a champion at 145? It's very strange. What are I need to know what's the point of these fights? Are they just fights? Is it window dressing?
Well, they don't have a chance. They set up that title fight for 145 with Marloes and Alexis, but she missed weight, and therefore it wasn't a title fight, and we know how that goes. But I'm with you on that for sure. Okay. No love.
By the way, Bo Dur, or is it Dure? Bo Dur, longtime journalist, very well respected, tells me on Twitter, not sure I agree that most women's sports have different rules than men, not soccer, not track, not skiing, etc. You can make a case in this country that women's soccer is starting to become as popular as men's soccer, but what's your response to that?
Certainly not all, but I mean, if we're thinking of you mentioned tennis.
Yeah.
Tennis completely different in
Tennis
this
different.
country.
But tennis
WNBA,
accepted just as much as men's
softball.
tennis.
Sure, but rule sets different.
Sure. I just think, at the end of the day, I just think of like the NBA on ABC, and if they did a double header, and the first game was Warriors-Cavs, and the second game was the Minnesota Lynx versus the New York Liberty, no one's sticking around for the second game, and that's just the facts. You do a pay-per-view headlined by the best men, and then or co-headline, and then you put the females in the headliner. No one's complaining. No one's saying that this is ridiculous. No one's turning off the TV if they're of the same talent level. So I think that's very much worth noting.
Okay, Edson Barboza. This person is suggesting that he didn't get a lot of love for his win this weekend. He's a contender in one of the most talent-rich divisions in the UFC. He's good-looking, speaks English. His English has come a long way. Edson's incredible. Fan-friendly fighting style. Can't argue with that. The guy delivers. Marketable, but not getting much love. What do you think about his progress? What do you think about where he is now? Is he ready for a title shot? Give us your thoughts on Edson's package.
Well,
phrasing.
Yes.
Give us your thoughts on Edson's...
what he's done as of late, his resume. We can't forget that not that long ago, in fact, back in December, which was just 7-8 months ago, he did lose to Tony Ferguson. So talking about him getting a title shot before Ferguson, ever sniffs that title shot, and he's still undefeated in this little run of his, I think 8 in a row, is a little crazy. But I think there's a clear correlation between his move to New Jersey full-time and being a part of that team led by Henry, with Eddie Alvarez there, with Frankie Edgar there, with Marlon Moraes there. I mean, they really quietly have one of the best teams in the world. And the proof is in the pudding. He beats Anthony Pettis, perfect game plan, back in April, and he beats Gilbert Melendez, perfect game plan, this past Saturday. He, in my opinion, is one fight away from being in that contender discussion, and I'd love to see him fight Rafael dos Anjos next. I think that's the fight. I think it makes a ton of sense. I know RDA is coming off a loss, but that doesn't really matter these days, and it was a title loss, so it especially doesn't matter in this case. Barboza RDA is the fight to make.
Love Edson Barboza.
And I don't think he's not getting the love. I mean, to me, I felt like that was very much a 2-fight card as far as like really serious, important fights, and everyone was talking about that fight. I mean, there was a big... I thought there was a big gap between the top 2 fights and the rest of the card, and as far as talent is concerned. There were some up-and-comers, no doubt, but that was the elite of the elite in the co-main event and main event, in my opinion. And Barboza put on a show. Now, it was 30-27. It was a little closer than that, but what he displayed was, I mean, Gilbert Melendez, yes, coming off a year layoff, that may have come into play, but he was super game, super tough. Barboza was just better.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily with you about him not getting a title shot before Ferguson. Nobody loves Tony Ferguson's style and game more than me, but timing is everything with this. He may just, all he has to do is put himself in position, and the timing may work out that he gets it first.
If you're Ferguson, your head will explode if that happens.
It's just the way. I mean, that's the current state. It's how it rolls. But I don't think anybody can argue that Tony Ferguson doesn't deserve a shot. That's for sure.
Do you agree that Khabib should get it next?
I think so. I think he's been, waiting, but you can't.
23-0.
Until you can't reliably book him. You just can't.
Oh, I see.
What do you mean?
No,
you feel like that's trite? I don't, because I feel like it's legit.
It sucks, but he was healthy in his last fight. He went through a full camp. He says he's doing things smarter. I think at this point you're punishing him. He went through one full fight camp. If it was, the first fight upon returning, bit of a different story, but I don't know.
I've long said I think he's the best lightweight in the world. I think he's the champion in waiting. I think he beats everybody else in that division, but it's not only about, can you fight them when you're ready and healthy and all that. It's a two-way street. What's next for Gilbert Melendez? How did you think of his performance? Aaron here is saying he looked a little bit slow. What do you think about Gilbert?
No, I still think he has some fighting left in him. A fight that could have been interesting at this juncture because they're both in a weird spot would be a rematch with him and Anthony Pettis. I think that would be interesting, but Pettis going down to 145. He's fighting Charles Oliveira. Cerrone is up at 170. I don't know why they keep Cerrone in that 155 rankings. It doesn't make any sense to me. I was thinking about this. Perhaps the returning Michael Chiesa would be an interesting litmus test for Chiesa to see if he's really in, because I still think that Melendez is one of the best, even though he's not currently ranked. I don't hate the idea of Will Brooks versus Chiesa. Some people were talking about Brooks versus Barbosa, and I know Brooks even called out Barbosa this morning. I mean, I wouldn't hate that if they booked it, but I think there's a bit of a gap there. I'd like to see Barbosa go up and fight an RDA. Those two came to mind when thinking about Melendez. Him and Iaquinta have some unfinished business because they were booked to fight each other, but all signs point to Iaquinta fighting Thiago Alves in New York, at least as of right now. So those are the names that came to mind when I was thinking about what's next for Melendez.
I like all those.
Did you just burp? What's wrong with you?
Couldn't hit the cough box. I like those. I think not only is it a litmus test for whoever he's facing, but I think it's a litmus test for Melendez as well. I mean, he's been facing only top competition for a very long time, I think, and I think he's still good. I just don't think he's at that championship level anymore. So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of where his career goes from here, and a step down from those guys might be what's needed to kind of see where he's at, to kind of gauge that. And
while we're talking about Barbosa's win and Shevchenko's win and the rest of that card Saturday in Chicago, I do think it's important to note, and I actually heard from a judge privately thanking me for this, which I didn't expect. We bitch and moan about the judging a lot in this sport. I thought the judging was super on point Saturday. They got the Shevchenko one right. They got the Barbosa one right. I mean, by the round, I thought. And they were good all night. You disagree?
I don't disagree, but I don't think we should pat people on the back for doing their job.
Yeah, but we bitch when they mess up. So it's a thankless job. No, just say, yo, good job. I think there's nothing wrong with that. If you do a good job on this show, are you saying I shouldn't thank you? I say, good work. Thank you. Peace out.
I'm waiting for the day.
That is bullshit.
I'll welcome it gladly.
You know what? That hurts.
Listen, I understand the sentiment.
And by the way, the reason for that is it has yet to happen.
There you go. I agree with the idea behind the sentiment, but I don't agree with it in execution. This is their job. This is literally what they are getting paid to do.
Yeah, but more often than not, they get it wrong. Yeah, so when they get it right on the one rare night, I think there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, good job, guys. Let's see more of that. Good job, good effort. A little pat on the butt. What's wrong with that? That never hurt anyone.
I don't know.
So you don't believe in giving people compliments?
Positive reinforcement is not my style.
What the hell? What's wrong with you? Why are you such an ass?
Especially in the case, this is what they are sitting in that seat for.
Yeah, guess what?
That is all they have to do.
And literally getting paid like peanuts for it. Nothing.
I'm not getting paid peanuts.
And yet they're subjected to this vitriol. And honestly, it's BS that they don't get paid because they're the ones deciding the fate of these 6-figure, 7-figure fights. They should get paid more because they have a lot of power, right? And there's only 3 rounds, sometimes 5 rounds. That's it. So they should get paid more.
Yeah, you're a softie.
There's no softie. I'm a nice guy.
I don't want them to get anything for doing their job.
So we shouldn't have acknowledged it.
No.
BS.
Move on to something.
Well, I could tell you one judge. he appreciated it.
I'm sure he did. What is it going to do? Is he going to go out and give a crap score in his next fight?
No.
How do you see the future of the heavyweight division? This person mentions what the hell did I just say? Mentions two talents.
Bad job there.
There you go. Where's the comments? Where's the compliments for how eloquently I read all the rest of the comments? Okay. Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. These are two up-and-coming heavyweights. Well, what do you think of the state of the division? This one's often, considered kind of old, kind of stale.
Yeah, it's fun.
Right now, we've got some prospects. Are you excited about this division in the future?
That felt like a bit of a mismatch. Bojan, right? I mean,
it's hard.
Wow.
Francis.
We're trying to build people.
He's a bit of an unknown quantity as well. Like, it's not like he was this established, quantifiable, item. I think this fight goes a long way toward establishing that. It's been a few in a row. I'm with you. Look, it wasn't competitive. It wasn't the best fight, but I think that this is on the right track. That heavyweight is getting a bit of an infusion of characters and talents. I mean, you can even go with Ben Rothwell, who's been around a long time, but this version of him, this iteration, is even new. I think there's a lot of cool things kind of happening at heavyweight. You
have to be very careful when you book the heavyweights, because there's such a shortage of good ones that, the wrong booking here or there, and you're like, we just invested in this guy 2-3 fights and now he loses. That's why I don't like the Derek Lewis fight. That's why I feel like you need to build those guys up a little more. And I think Lewis has had a little more time in the cage, especially coming off a win over Roy Nelson. You're going from Roy Nelson to Francis Ngannou? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I don't think this person was matching them up.
No, but everyone on Saturday was saying that.
Oh, I didn't.
So that's why
I definitely agree with you there.
I slowly build up Francis.
Yep.
Slowly, and Lewis is definitely in that discussion. I don't think he's in the title discussion, but you beat Roy Nelson, especially like that. I know he's disappointed that he didn't finish him, but that is very notable in my opinion. Let's look at these.
He damn sure got close to finishing him. He hit him with the kitchen sink. So
there are some big fights coming up in the heavyweight division. Josh Barnett fighting against Rothwell, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
Josh Barnett,
that's another case. We're looking at some of the same names. No. We're looking at the guys who have been at the top.
Barnett Arlovsky and Rothwell against Verdum. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is those two matchups, for example, are just matchups that we've seen. Not if it wasn't this exact fight, swap the opponents in it, and we've seen it. It's the same names kind of regurgitated over and over, and I feel like finally it looks like we may be getting some newer ones.
Yeah, Derek Lewis versus Stefan Struve I think is fun.
Awesome.
I think that if Mark Hunt wasn't involved in this mess of a situation, that would have been a fun fight as well. Derek Lewis.
That's a banger.
Yeah, so I think that there are options. I say slow our roll. Francis, let him work his way up. Don't get too crazy. But yes, it's good to have some names to get excited about in that division. A division where I think there's only one 30-year-old in the entire top 15.
Okay, Melvin Guillard and Paul Daly.
Yes.
He returned Friday night, denounced lightweight, called out Paul Daly at welterweight. What do you think of that matchup? Do you think they have to do Daly Koscheck? Do you think they have to hold out for that? And
talk about booking something and it doesn't come to fruition because of injuries. How many times? Yes, I want to see that fight. That's the fight. I like when someone calls out someone when he has a plan. I'm so happy that Guillard has said no more lightweight. Enough is enough. He's missed weight countless times at this point. His body just can't make it anymore. Just forget about it. You're not in the title chase. Just stop doing it. Go 170 Daily, perfect. Love it.
Do you think he was planning this before, or do you think after he missed weight, he was like, you know what, let me game plan right here. I'm looking for a welterweight. This fight makes sense. Let me go after him.
It's hard to answer that question without speaking to him. I can see both answers happening, being true, being accurate. But whatever the case is, that's a brilliant idea. And Coker retweeted it, and Daly wrote on his Facebook page that he likes it as well. Daly coming off that #1 contender loss to Douglas Lima, that's a great fight. And the shit talking is going to be great. And it's going to be great.
Has Paul Daly gotten on Twitter yet? Has this happened?
I don't know what's wrong with it.
He's great on the Facebook, though. I don't
understand
these
Facebook guys.
What do you mean?
It just doesn't make sense to me, Facebook. Maybe I've ruined my Facebook page because long ago I added too many people and now it's it's not fun. I go on there and I'm like, I don't know who you are. I literally do not know who you are. And you just had a baby, and I guess I'm happy for you, but I don't know who you are. So it's hard to really, truly be happy for you. Speaking of which, I loved all the tweets that I got last week of people showing me where they were listening to the show. Did you get those as well?
I got a few, yeah.
It was nice.
Send them our way. We're always interested. I'm expecting a bath time tweet from John Gooden.
Yes.
Get on that.
I actually want to see a picture this time.
What do you mean? He sent it before, I think.
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Running the bath, as they say.
I've seen the emoji. I've seen the tweets. I've never actually seen the physical evidence. Anyway, oh, no. I thought that was a text from John Gooden telling me about it. What was I talking about? Now I forgot.
You were talking about Facebook and how...
Oh, yeah. Why is he so... He's on the Facebook thing.
It's just his medium. I get it. I'm not a Facebook person myself, but I get it.
Do it like Mark Hunt. Just link the two.
Yeah, that's
Mark
fair.
Hunt is prolific on the social media. Who would have thought?
Oh, he's great.
Speaking of which, is Mark Hunt waking up?
This next question.
Okay,
how about
go
this?
ahead.
We're on the topic. Perfect. Apropos. If Brock doesn't appeal his potential drug test failure and is handed suspension, do you think it brings into question his career, his credibility, affects future Hall of Fame things? How does this essentially, let's say Brock never competes again in MMA or the UFC, how does this affect his legacy? How does this affect his credibility with the UFC, with the Hall of Fame, all of that?
By the way, worth noting that since we last spoke, Brock failed the second test.
Correct.
So since we last spoke, it came out, I believe, on Tuesday, not a Friday. How about that? Although we did get a PED suspension on a Friday afternoon, and it was interesting. I was in the car listening to the radio, and the news came out that Arthur Jones, the brother of John Jones, suspended 4 games due to violating the NFL PED policy, and the broadcaster on the radio mentioned is like, oh, Friday, great call, NFL. You know, they were saying the same thing that I was talking about last week, the PR 101 savvy move. Anyhow, so yeah, he failed 2 tests. We have yet to hear from him. We don't really know what's going to happen. I heard that Randy Orton threw some shade his way on the WWE pay-per-view last night. Did you hear about that?
I did not.
Supposedly he said that I'm going to RKO you and I don't need any supplements or substances or something like that. Yeah, interesting. How about that? That's a shoot. That's a shoot, brother.
Wait, has WWE has addressed it, right? I forget.
They sent out a non-statement after the first failed drug test. But the reason I bring that up is the word on the street is that he is not subjected to very stringent drug testing in WWE. I don't know what the level of it is, but it's certainly not USADA. I think that's very fair to say. And so, yeah, if he does not have a good reason for this, estrogen blockers, which any long-time steroid user or weightlifter or any one of those people in that world will tell you is a very problematic thing to have in your system. If he doesn't address it in any kind of way and takes this one on the chin, I do think it affects him. Now, what does the UFC Hall of Fame really mean? I mean, it's not, whatever. But the real Hall of Fame, I've said after his Overeem fight, I would put him on a Hall of Fame ballot. These type of things, they affect your legacy. It has changed the way I view Anderson Silva. It has changed the way I view Brock, although I think we need to reserve judgment on him. It's changed the way I viewed a lot of other people as well. So, yeah, I think that is a real thing, and that's a fair question.
I'm with you, and, I mean...
Down with the cheaters.
Yeah. You know, we have to hold out until we know the full, story, the scope of what actually is happening. But clearly, if this comes to light that he willingly cheated, I mean, there's nothing else to say. But it will affect his legacy.
Does it
greatly.
hurt John Jones that his brother tested positive?
No. I mean, people will try to make that connection, but no.
All right.
Brock not being fined by the UFC, they said they weren't going to institute any penalty there. It doesn't seem like Hunt's going to get his demands.
No.
Joanna champion.
Yeah.
Openly supporting it.
Respect.
TJ Dillashaw starting to speak out after the UFC was sold. Are we moving toward a fighter union? Are the tides changing?
Yes.
Is this the beginnings of
100%. Now, whether it takes 10 years, 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, who knows? But this is the beginning of that chapter, in my opinion. And it's not just this. It's the sale. It's the TV deal coming up. We were talking about this on The Beat. There's a great article in the Sports Business Journal. Sorry.
I'm laughing after you like, did you burp? No, you just burped like 3 times.
Well, but at least I was moving away and you didn't hear it.
It was, that was bad
there's a sale in the Sports Business Journal written by two amazing sports TV business writers, John Orand and Michael Smith. And they wrote this very, very, very in-depth story on the UFC sale, the players involved, the offers, things of that nature. And they said that one of the reasons why it was sold for $4 billion is that they are banking on the next round of TV deals, the Fox deals up in 2 years, two plus years. They're banking on it going from around 15 million to around 400 million a year. Think about that. That is a massive jump. Now, it's not quite NBA, NFL, but it's a big jump. And as we've outlined on this show, the fighters currently make 0% of that money. So you're profiting all of that. And of course, you're paying for production costs, and UFC runs production. I mean, it's not just going straight in your pocket, but you get what I'm saying. None of that. No 50-50 split. None of that. So I think that the fighters are starting to smarten up and saying, wait a second, look at these NBA guys. What are we getting? Oh, and the Reebok deal as well. MMA Junkie noting that Holly made just $2,500 in sponsorships, main eventing on Fox, over 2.4 million people watching. Those were the preliminary ratings. Made $2,500 in sponsorships. I mean, it's almost like their hand is being forced. It's almost like they're fooling themselves if they don't do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to do it. At this point, there needs to be collective bargaining. They're starting to recognize that, yeah, USADA's cool, but we should have had a say in this whole thing. Yeah, these rules about, what weight you should be checking in on Tuesday before a Saturday fight is cool and all, but we should have a say in this whole thing. Yeah, I guess being sponsored by a mainstream blue chip sponsor like Reebok is cool, but we should have a say in this whole thing. Yeah, it's cool to be on Fox, but we should have a say in this whole thing. I mean, you just have to have a say. You can't just sign away. And as TJ Dillashaw outlined very well, I thought, on my favorite show, Stud Show Radio, they claim to be independent contractors, but they're not. They're treated as employees. The USADA thing, having to tell your quote-unquote employer where you are at all times, that's not an independent contractor. I think we all know what an independent contractor does for a living. He does not have to check in with someone 24/7, 365. You get hired for a one-shot here or there, and then you go along your merry way. They are treated as employees. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on. There's talks, there's this and that. I do think when we look back on history, and I always like to equate this to 1920s football. You've heard me say that 1,000 times on this show. We will look at this, and yes, work has been done. We can't ignore the MMAFA and the antitrust and all that. That is significant to some degree. But I do think that this year, last 12 months or so, really will signify the winds starting to turn in that direction. And I think the fighters are getting smarter too, by the way, and they're being surrounded by smarter people as well, smarter managers, smarter agents, etc.
UFC 201, coming off a stint of events where the most stacked cards have turned out to be lackluster, and the events that are a little lower profile have turned out to be incredibly exciting. I don't know if that's even this stint. That seems to happen in general. But Sean, the person who asked this, is looking for a reason to be excited about UFC 201.
Wow. Jeez.
Do you have anything for him? Are you looking at anything?
Ironic that you would ask the negative guy to try to sell you on a pay-per-view. That's a joke, by the way. I will be in Atlanta. I am looking forward to it. Our Y'all Must Have Forgot clip, which we sort of breezed by this week because there's just too much to talk about, too many guests, etc., was my very first interview with Tyron Woodley. You can look it up. It's May of 2010. And it's fascinating to look back on that interview because he was saying all the right things back then. And I know that his title shot has been somewhat polarizing, and I know that a lot of people wanted to see others get that shot first. But I am genuinely happy for Tyron Woodley, who has done all the right things, who has not cut corners, and who was supposed to fight Johnny Hendricks back in October when fighting Johnny Hendricks was a bigger deal. It did not happen. He made weight. He went out there in front of the people, stepped on the scales, made it 170, I think, 0.4, and said, I'm going to get my title shot because that's what was at stake. And they sort of promised him that title shot, and he made them stick to their guns. And I like that. And I don't mind that. And I think that the promo is a little bit hokey, and I think that they actually missed the boat on the Countdown show because they have a history, as he outlined on this show, that they completely ignored. Robbie and Tyron do. They just kind of went generic. But I think Robbie Lawler versus Tyron Woodley is a very fun fight. If you forget about the other options, if you forget about his layoff, the fact that he hasn't fought in a year and a half, all that stuff. Robbie Lawler versus Tyron Woodley in 2016 is a fun fight. And then when you look at Rose Namajunas, who I think is one win away from fighting for the belt, as is Karolina Kowalkiewicz, you could go right in both ways there. Rose versus Joanna is a great fight, and then you have, Poland versus Poland, civil war, so to speak. If Karolina wins, I think that's fun as well. I think seeing perhaps the most famous fighter who currently lives with his parents, Ian McCall, returning to action against Justin Scoggins is fun as well. Sort of Jake Ellenberger's last stand against Matt Brown. The always entertaining Nikita Krylov versus Ed Herman. I'm starting to stretch a little bit, but you get my point.
No, I think you've summed it up and
there's something
played
there.
It appropriately.
There's something there. I've never been to Atlanta. That's exciting.
Well, now we're just getting into selfish Ariel Helwani over here. I get to go to Atlanta. Yeah.
Our good friend Danny Segura's favorite fighter, Goyito Perez, returning.
That's a good fight right there.
Will he wear the mask?
That is a
against
fight.
Francisco Rivera. How about our good friend of the show, Masvidal, going up against Pearson, right? Jorge Masvidal going up against Ross Pearson. So there are some names there. Wilson Hayes, it's a bummer he doesn't get that title shot. And we have to remember that DJ was originally booked for this card. So that's a bummer, but he is remaining on the card. So there's something there. I like Michael Graves as well. He's fun. So if you look, you'll find something there.
I'm with you. Look, let's be frank. It's not the best card on paper.
No. You can make a case that it's the weakest UFC pay-per-view since UFC 177. Now, that one was hit by an injury or missed weight cut and all that stuff with Renan Barão. But even the rest of the card, like the co-main event at the time was Tony Ferguson versus Danny Castillo on pay-per-view. And if you look at it, you can make that case, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it'd be hard to defend this card as amazing and whatever. It's not the best card, but we'll be frank. But I think there are good close matchups, and there's something that people can look for here.
I have a feeling if you sit down and watch it, you'll be entertained on Saturday. I feel like something big is going to happen. I feel like next week on the show, we'll talk about something big.
I mean, it seems to always happen that way, right?
That's true.
Okay, I'm leaving you with this, and then I'm getting our next guest.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the announced lineup for Tough 24? They announced all the champions. There's higher stakes. What do you think about that while I go get Michael Venovich?
Yeah, and worth mentioning as well that there's also Invicta, the return of Alexa Grasso. They put out a great promo for Grasso. She has been hit by injury. She hasn't fought since the night before UFC 184. She's competing against Jodie Escobel. Irene Aldana is also competing. Jessamine Duke, Megan Anderson, Mizuki Inoue. There are some names. Aspen Ladd. It's a pretty solid card from Invicta, and also World Series of Fighting has a card on Saturday as well. Their 32nd card. Marlon Moraes returns his final fight under contract for WSOF rematch against Josh Hill, and Lance Palmer against Alexander Almeida rematch as well for the featherweight title. Brother versus brother, Ben Fodor, aka Phoenix Jones versus Carlos Fodor, and Phil Haas returning against Luis Taylor. That's a fun card as well. It's a shame it's the same night as UFC 201, but the main card starts at 10:30. Anyhow, Tough 24. I actually don't mind it. I mean, we've talked ad nauseum about that show and its troubles, but there were some interesting names. Yoni Sherbatov out of Quebec, Damasio Page returning, Tim Elliott, formerly of the UFC as well. So yeah, there were some interesting names on that cast. All former champions, or I should say current champions from other organizations outside of the UFC will be vying for a title shot, although I do believe that Luis Smolka should probably get a title shot before any of those guys, now winning 4 in a row. But yeah, there are some good names, and I'm curious to see how it all plays out. I wish that they would give it a whole new look. I wish that they would allow these guys to live in separate houses with their coaches and teams. This is such a big deal. They're champions. They certainly deserve that. I wish they would really shake up this whole damn thing and make it look a lot different. Make it feel different. Get it out of that house. Get it out of that gym. You know what I mean? Really shake it up. But we'll see. All right, let's move along to our next guest. He is joining us from jolly old England. In fact, Mama knows my parents are in England right now. Maybe he's seen them. Michael Venom Page, MVP, on the phone right now. Michael, are you there?
Yes. How you doing?
Have you seen my parents?
I don't believe I have just yet.
All right.
It's probably a bit too cloudy to find them.
Look for the people with the big noses. They'll be walking around. Good to have you on the show. Congratulations on your most recent win.
Thank you very much.
What a bizarre story this is, because the fight happens midday here in the United States. People are buzzing because of your knockout, because of your celebration. It was like top trending thing on Twitter. Over 1 million people are watching on YouTube. And then, and so it's all feeling good. Everything's happy. And then we get the news that Cyborg suffered a fractured skull. And then we all start to feel uneasy about it. What about for you? Was it hard to feel good about the win after you heard about that?
Yeah, 100%. And it's even harder when the first, the first news feed that I got of it, my brother actually read out fatal injury to Cyborg. So I was, excuse my French, shitting myself, man, because see, that's not something you want to be a part of. You know what I mean? That's not why we do this.
Yeah.
So obviously, we heard. I found out a bit more. I was constantly trying to phone people and figure out what was going on. I found out, he was okay, but it's still a severe injury. But yeah, it was just very hard to. It was a weird moment because like you say, you're trying to enjoy what's going on, and then you're just sitting there worried about your opponent. So yeah, it was a weird feeling.
How soon after the fight did you find out that he had suffered that kind of injury?
It was the next day.
Oh wow.
Weirdly enough, because obviously once I finished the fight, he turned face down.
Yeah.
I did my celebration when I kind of finished kind of celebrating and doing what I was doing. He was already at the cage, so I never actually saw him in any way. So the first time I never saw him again because obviously he went to hospital. So the first time I saw it was that newsfeed and the picture that came out with it. So
wow. Sorry, when you landed the knee, could you feel? Is it possible to feel that something went wrong there?
No, I heard a sound. In all honesty, I thought it was his nose. And again, by the way, he's still conscious. You know what I mean? He was still kicking his legs, obviously in pain. But I just thought, I caught his nose, or maybe even his jaw. But just again, the way his hands were, it more seemed to be nose than anything. And so again, broken nose. I've seen guys with that in the gym. It's not a hard fix. So again, it wasn't something I was worried about immediately. I was just kind of just happy about the win, happy about landing the shot that I've been training for. So I didn't notice anything at all.
I said afterwards on Monday that when you see something like that, you start to ask yourself like, what are we doing? What's going on in the sport? I mean, you kind of have this sort of moment of self-reflection. You were in there. You're the one who landed the knee, and I don't think you deserve 1 ounce of criticism, and I'll get to that in a second. But do you have that moment as well? Like, is it hard to go right back in the gym when you see a picture like that, a fractured skull after you land the flying knee?
It just makes you think, like as you say, to think a bit more about the sport and not in a selfish way, but kind of relate it to yourself. Like, man, because obviously we're both aiming to inflict that kind of damage, but obviously not. But it can potentially happen to either or fighter, so it does make you think about the sport and what you are doing. But at the same time, we kind of know what we're signing up for, and it is something that we enjoy as a sport, not to damage people or do anything bad for their careers or anything afterwards. It is the sport inside, the mental side, the physical side that we really enjoy it. So. It's just a shame that these things happen, and luckily it doesn't happen very often. So, it's a good thing.
So I defended you very much last week. I said that you don't deserve any criticism, obviously because what you did wasn't illegal. But even anyone pointing out that you were celebrating, you had no idea what was going on, and you have been consistent throughout your entire career. You've always had these outlandish celebrations, and you're a very entertaining guy. You like a little mustard on your hot dog, and we talked about that when you were in studio. And I thought that you were a gentleman and a class act on Twitter when talking about Cyborg. But shortly after the fight, he told our Guilherme Cruz, he said, quote unquote, he's a clown. Speaking of you, the way he behaves is not how a champion should behave. He's talented, yes. He's skillful, and he fought a great fight. But does it bother you to hear him say that after what you were saying about him after the fight?
Yeah, it does. It did a little bit, to be honest. I was a bit disappointed. As you say, it's not something that he wasn't unclear about coming into the fight. If you paid attention to me, and obviously watched me before, the package deal that it comes with. This is what I do. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he has to enjoy it, but I just think the statement didn't need to come out that way. I tried to support him as much as I could afterwards as well. By even, posting out, I even made sure our company put in money, a load of money to help, to help raise the funds. And again, that's the celebration is completely separate to the injury. You know what I mean? And me caring about him as an individual and for his career. So. It was just more disappointing when I first saw the statement, but I think maybe because of how big it got, and maybe a little bit embarrassed about it, or with him being on the receiving end of it, could have been the reason why he kind of came out of that statement. But I have no real hard feelings towards him. I'm just a bit disappointed.
And by the way, for the record, which company contributed money to his GoFundMe account?
It's my company, the Hands Down. Brand that
wow.
doing that, so
well done.
Yeah, so.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
So the celebration everyone was talking about afterwards, I mean, boy, did you capitalize on something that was very much in the news, the Pokemon celebration. Now, I have to ask you, we had a long discussion about this on the show last week. Do you play this Pokemon game? Are you a Pokemon fan?
I'm going to listen, I've been killing this Pokemon game. Like, it's so bad. It's like, even my girlfriend's just like, listen, you seriously need to stop this. Like,
wow.
What are you doing? Me and my friends would just like meet up and go and like, to be fair, it's a good time because the sun's out over here.
Yeah.
Occasionally anyway. And we call it Poke Walks, and we just go around. We'll go to the park or something. It's good because it keeps us like being social, but then again not, because we're kind of stuck on our phone.
Yeah. So Michael Page calls up his mates and says, hey, do you want to go outside on a Poke Walk? Let's just look at our phones and walk around like zombies. This actually happens?
This actually happens, man.
Now, whose idea was it to capitalize on it and throw the ball and put on the hat and all that? Was that your idea?
Yeah, it's my brother actually came out of it first, but he never told me. He was just like laughing and joking and said, wouldn't it be funny if, you did this afterwards? But he was talking to my brother-in-law. And then, because they were on their way over from the States to come and support me over here. So then when they got here, we was all just talking about the new Pokemon game. Like literally every one of us had it on on our phones.
Yeah.
So we were just laughing and joking about just having it full stop. And then again, my brother-in-law mentioned what my brother said, and I was like, I actually love the idea. So we were laughing and joking about it. My family is full of laughter, like full of jokers. And then I was like, no, I'm actually going to go and look for it. So we went down to Forbidden Planet in Oxford Street. I found the hat, even though it wasn't the original. I was just looking for something because no shop had it. And then in Toys R Us online, I found like a Pokemon ball. So we was like, I'm going to make this happen. And I had it visualized in my head. I was like, if I do get the knockout, just make sure you give it to me, and I'll do the rest. And it just literally the way I saw it in my head is the way it happened. So
amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the second you landed that and he was down, and kudos to you for not pouncing on him and throwing extra shots. I think that's worth noting as well. You ran straight for your corner to get the hat and the ball, and you throw the hat. You throw the ball towards him. What does that signify? What are you doing there with that ball?
I was catching a cyborg.
Oh, yeah, because there is a cyborg. I never made that connection. I don't know anything. That is incredible. So by throwing the ball, you're catching the cyborg?
Yeah.
Holy crap. You are a brilliant man. That is amazing. That is unbelievable. I am taking a stand. I don't want to play this game. Am I missing out?
No, yeah, I believe you, because I'm kind of into it at the moment. You're definitely missing out. I feel the more simple games are the best. If we're going back, Tetris, those very basic games are the most kind of addictive because it's so easy to kind of do. And I think this game, obviously slightly more complex in what they have to do on it, but the general format of how to play the game is very simple. And it just makes it easier to play, because I find nowadays I've got a PlayStation and stuff, but I don't have time to play it anymore. I get back in from training, I'm just tired. I can't bother to kind of, pick up a pad. So it's just sitting there. But these kind of simple games are very just easy to do, and I find them ones the most enjoyable.
Were you surprised at how big of a deal? I mean, this was a massive deal. Everyone was talking about it. Even non-MMA fans saw it. Were you surprised how big it got?
It was weird because when we were talking about it, we were laughing like, oh, this could be big. This could be big. If I manage to pull this off, this could be really big. I think that would go viral. So we were laughing and joking about it. But to be fair, when it actually happened and the response that I got from, just absolutely near enough every platform there is, like I was seeing it being reposted and talked about, I was 100%. I didn't think it would be that big. Nowhere near. And even just the feedback I've got from it, it's just, yeah, like you say, it's blown up.
I thought of all the fighters on the card, you came across as the biggest star. You're from England. The fans really took to you. What was the experience like live for you to be there and hear them chanting your name? And you on the mic, it was sort of rock-esque, if I'm being honest, when you said you've returned. I mean, the whole experience of just getting to fight at home at the O2, this legendary arena. What was that like for you?
It was, even the way I built, and sometimes, you can build things up in your head beforehand. And because I was so excited, I just couldn't help but imagine everything beforehand. And sometimes that can kind of ruin the experience. And it doesn't kind of, come up to your expectation or what you've built it up to be. But this, it was even way better than I could have imagined. Just like you say, just the response of the crowd, how excited everybody was as I came in, during, and afterwards. It was just unbelievable. And then what made it even better is to be able to just leave the cage and literally as I'm looking around, I'm seeing my kickboxing, my old kickboxing trainers and friends, and from the kickboxing industry, my mum was there. My brothers and sisters and everybody was there. I had cousins, I had friends. It was just to be able to look around and just see all these people around, which I'd usually have to kind of wait until sometimes usually the hype's already kind of died down. Obviously, people are still excited that I've won, but, I usually spend a week out in the States afterwards, and then by the time I get back, it's been a couple of weeks since the fight, and you obviously don't get to see everyone straight away, so it could be like 3 weeks before I actually see anybody. And but just seeing everybody there it was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Wow. And then you have the great Lennox Lewis, who I will note is a Canadian, and he turned his back on my country, but I still got love. I still got love for the man. He's acting like a fanboy around you, taking pictures of you and videotaping your scrum. What was that like for you?
Man, it was unbelievable. Like the first time I was doing an interview. And the guys were like, "Oh, we actually interviewed Lennox Lewis yesterday, but he just kept talking about you." And I was like, "Wow, this guy knows who I am." And then when I met him, he was again straight away. He was just like, "Man, I see you got this real quick right hand," and he was just going off on one. And I was like, "What? How are you talking that way about me?" It's unbelievable. You're a legend. You know what I mean? And he's a really chill guy. We were just catching up, talking. And it just through the night, and it was just amazing because again, straight afterwards, he actually jumped in on my interview that I had after the fight, and he was again just showing there's nothing but love, and it was to have those kind of people around, acknowledging you for one, but then acknowledging you and also, like you say, like in a massive positive way about how you're doing and keep it, and wanting you to keep it up, and it just keeps you on a high. That's even better than winning the fight sometimes.
So you improved to 11-0. I thought it was a nice step up in competition. I loved the matchup. I liked it better than the original one. And I know it may have gone a little longer than you would have wanted. You finished him with around 29 seconds left in the second round. Overall, were you happy with the fight? Were you happy with your performance?
Yes and no. Obviously, the takedown I wasn't happy with. There's just a couple of things, basic stuff. Like even when I spoke to my coach afterwards, he's like, if you had your leg here and you did this, and it just basic stuff. Just to be honest, Cyborg I was actually very impressed with how strong he was initially. When he actually first grabbed me, I was like, wow, this guy is powerful. And I've had that. Most of the guys that I've fought, they're all strong, but something felt different with this guy. He felt really, really, really strong. So But then obviously the takedown, I was just saying, look, just stay calm, stay relaxed. I saw an opportunity to get a leg lock, but even then, I didn't want to blow out my arms because as I was going for it, he just again, the muscles in his legs it was just difficult to even put it. And I've caught that move before in sessions, you know. But his strength in being able to defend that kind of stuff. It was, again, all very impressive. But I felt him burning himself with trying to keep me down. And my coach, I could hear him. He just saying, stay relaxed, make sure he doesn't do this. Just basic stuff, just stay relaxed. He obviously telling me to get my guard back. He just felt ridiculously strong on top of me. But he wasn't doing anything. So I was staying relaxed. I said, I'm going to ride the round out, and then I got 10 more minutes to do what I need to do. And that's exactly what happened. And once I got up, I still felt fresh. I looked across the cage and I saw how tired he looked, just from holding me there. So I knew I could get him. Okay, so what's next? Do you have any idea yet? No, not at all. But as everybody else is, screaming out, they want the titles. Obviously, Douglas Lima, he's there. He's in the front of the line for that. So he's going to be there next. But I feel if I'm not there right afterwards, something's wrong. So it's either one more fight and then the title, or just wait for the opportunity to just get the title. Do you have any idea who would be your next opponent? Who's in that discussion as well? Because I think you laid out pretty well. You have to be at least, if not one more. I mean, if not next, then one more, and that's it, right? Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure. I've heard multiple names flying across, but it's weird how uninterested I am with that. I've said it from the beginning. I've never really cared that much about who it is. I'm kind of just on my own trip. I'm just more focusing on myself. I'm enjoying learning. I'm enjoying getting better. I'm enjoying putting on shows. It's more about me. And regardless, whoever they want to throw, I'm just like, I'm the same as everybody else. They want big names and stuff, and that's what's going to be happening. So it doesn't really matter, whoever they want to have next, they can, any of the top names that are there, they want to throw one of those in first. I feel confident in my progression and where I am at this particular stage, and I'm happy to fight anyone. Have you re-signed with Bellator? Did you just recently sign a new deal with them? No. It's just part of the contract. You get there's like a extension. So how many left now? That was from before. Okay. I was from before, so it's the same contract. I haven't had to re-sign anything. So you have 4 left or 3 left? I believe I have 2 left now. 2 left now. Interesting. Okay. Are you going to go the way of the recent trend and test free agency? Do you want to do that? At the moment, no. I really enjoy being with Bellator, and I enjoy their movement in the direction. It just depends on what happens, moving on out, because I'm going to be pushing for more. Obviously, I feel like I'm doing a lot for the company, and hopefully they support me in that. Okay. Have they offered you a new deal yet? Oh no, not as yet. It's just something that I'm definitely going to. When the time comes, I'll be sitting down with the main team and discussing with them, and obviously discussing with my coaches and my team. And this is move forward from there. But at the moment, again, even that's not really a bother for me. I think again, I'm doing well enough for that kind of stuff to come to me. So I just need to continue focusing on my performances. And when you say more, what do you mean by more in the company? I feel obviously fighters don't get paid that much. Yeah. in terms of what we have to do. Sure. And I feel having that extra financial stability. Yeah. It's going to allow me to get more for my training. Okay. And I think I'll be more of a dangerous fighter if I can have the added bonuses of just the extra things, being able to go to different places, being able to bring in different trainers or coaches for specific things. I think it's just going to make me a more dangerous fighter. Okay. So you're saying more money, right? Yeah. Okay. And last thing, when do you want to return? Do you want to fight again this year? Oh yeah, 100%. I feel fresh. I don't feel, again, usually when I come out of my fights, I'm never really that beaten up at all. So, yeah, I'm feel ready to come in. It's just a case of I'm actually going away next week. I've spent time with my family as I've been here, and then next week I'm going to have a relax in Spain.
Oh.
Just for about 5 days, and then when I get back, that's it, straight back to work. And just looking to hear where my next fight is.
Well, again, congratulations, my man. You are the new Mr. Must See TV. It is always an event when we watch you, when we know that you're on the telecast. It's really a pleasure to watch you fight, and you never cease to amaze. It's amazing, and you did it again. You topped yourself again, this time against tougher competition. So hopefully you don't listen to that criticism. Keep doing your thing, and I hope you get paid. I hope you get paid a hell of a lot more. I hope you get a big fight next. We can keep watching you do your thing. Always a pleasure. Thank you for stopping by, Michael. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me, as always, man. I wish I was, I said to you before, I wish I was able to, be out there and come and see you, but I'm sure I'll come and see you again soon.
Absolutely. You're always welcome here. Thank you, Michael. There he is, MVP stopping by. Great stuff from him, as always. Okay, let's go to our last guest of the day. So kind, as always, Mr. Mark Hunt, for waking up early over in Australia around 6:20 a.m. Eastern time over there. The man is all class, and he is joining us right now on the phone. Mark, are you there?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing,
man. What's going on?
It's good to hear you laugh, Mark. A pleasure, as always, to talk to you. Thank you. Okay, so there's a lot to discuss, some not so fun things, but I appreciate you coming on to talk about them. How would you describe life right now for you? Is this a dark period? Are you stressed out? With so much going on, all this controversy, how would you describe life right now?
Life is normal. Life is good. I'm just sitting here chilling with my family. Life's couldn't be much better. I'm not really stressed out about nothing. Like I said, who knows what the future holds? Could be dead tomorrow or even in a minute. Who knows? I'm not worried about shit.
You told me late last week that you have yet to speak to anyone on the UFC from the UFC on the phone about Brock's 2 failed drug tests. Has that changed at all since we spoke?
No.
Wow.
No one's bothered to call me about anything about those cheating motherfuckers. What's the worst thing about this whole scenario is that the UFC don't do shit about it. They're not doing a damn thing about this whole freaking cheating monkeys. And the reason why I'm so upset is not because it's the first or second. This is the third time I've fought someone that's been cheating. And this is and the thing is, there is no compensation. There is nothing. You lose 20% when you don't make weight. Okay, you forfeit 20%. But when you get caught for doping, for sticking needles in your fucking ass, what do you get? Nothing. They don't give you nothing. They just give you here's a 2-year ban. See you later. There's no fines, no nothing. What is going to be changed about this whole thing? There's fighters that's busting their ass to make weight, but when they get caught, they don't get no compensation. So all these cheaters they're just cheating. They just keep cheating. Oh, you know what? I'll just take time off. If I get caught, I'll get busted those 2 years. There's no compensation. There's no incentive for them not to keep cheating. They don't lose no purse. They just get nothing. It's ridiculous. I don't know why things haven't changed. I think if you get caught if you don't make weight, you lose 20%. If you get caught doping, you should lose all incentive of money, everything, and you should be sued. You should be criminally in court for sticking needles in your bum hole and for cheating. So what are these people doing something about it? They're doing nothing about it. People will say to me, Mark, it's been 3 weeks now, the fight's over, you're still complaining? Well, I'm not complaining, I just want something done about it. All these cheating monkeys that follow that piece of crap cheater that, like the rest of these cheaters, they're still talking about it, but I'll go on as long as I want. It's my damn page.
Yeah.
And what upsets me is they think, it's okay to cheat, so we're telling the whole world that our sport are a pack of cheaters and freaking liars, because it's okay to cheat because you don't get no fines, you just get a time off. That's it. So all these young boys and girls that want to be top-end prize fighters, this is what you get. You just need to stick a needle in your ass and you're in.
Mark, have you tried to reach out to the UFC yourself to get more clarity on this whole situation, how he failed a test before the fight and was still able to fight, all that stuff? Have you tried to talk to them?
You know, I reached out there and I've asked what's going on, and, you know, they're not doing a damn thing. And the sad thing about it, like I said, is I'm upset because it's not just the first. This is the third time I've had this. The next time I'll probably, I probably won't. That's why I won't be going to fight in the UFC again. If I go do a fight again and if I get put in a coma or die, what happens to me? Oh, well, he already knew. He's already fought 3 cheaters in a row. It was the 4th time he cheated. And before the fight, I said, I said to the, I was assuming he was cheating. You know, look at him. There's no way that guy makes 265 pounds. The guy's a gimp. He's sticking needles in his ass like the rest of these cheaters. You know, and the thing about that is, he's sitting here saying, "Oh, this is a fair place." But it's not fair. These guys are cheating, and they should be in court for it. Lose all their money incentive for cheating. Because if I die in there, who's going to look after my family? Look after the guys that are clean in the sport. I said, "Oh, well, who's going to look after the kids?" Well, here's your explanation. He signed the waiver. These guys are all clean. That's a crock of shit, man. These motherfuckers should be penalized hard. Dirty, scummy, cheating scum. That's how that monkey won his world title. That's why he came back and said, "I got an itch to scratch." You didn't do it by doing it clean. You did it by cheating. Just like the rest of you cheaters.
You said after the news came out, the first failed drug test, that you wanted his entire purse or you want to be released from the UFC. It doesn't look like you're going to get that money now. So does that mean you're done with the UFC? Do you not want to fight for them anymore?
Well, at this moment, I don't care what they say. I don't want to be a part of this company unless they do something about this shit. They got to do something about this cheating. It's like the whole roster is cheating. You know, one person gets pinged, another person gets pinged, and there's nothing that they're not doing anything about it. I mean, you tell me what. The next time I go on, if people say this is a herpes, yeah, I understand that. But if you're gonna make it clear, if you're gonna make it a cheating sport, then let's all fucking cheat.
Right.
Let's all cheat. Let's all stick needles in our asses and take the rest of that shit and see who's the first person to die. I mean, shucks, this is ridiculous. I mean, it took years and years for something to be done about that scummy cheater Armstrong. How long is it going to take for something to happen in this sport? Till someone dies and then, let's lay some charges against these cheaters. When you got these freaking... Anyway.
Do you think that USADA and or the UFC knew about his failed drug test on June 28th before UFC 200?
Before the fight? I have no idea, man. You know, to be honest, I don't even know why they gave him an exemption. And if they did, wouldn't they be liable for being sued, for being, for negligence or some sort of shit like that? I mean, shucks. It's like if I just walked into the octagon with a freaking gun or something, right? Because in the end, something bad could happen to someone. Then someone could die because someone's cheating. You know, it's kind of really it's getting too far. Something needs to be done about this. You know, trying to form a union and get things started is kind of hard. I don't give a rat's what anyone says about what I'm doing. I think I'm not going to fight any more cheaters or people that assume to be cheating. I mean, because they don't care. They just cheat because they have no penalties. There is no penalties for it. I mean, I think they should have a cheating MMA and a non-cheating MMA. Maybe that'll make it a bit fairer.
Yeah, I wonder how many people would be on the non-cheating side. But you'd hope that...
Me?
Yeah.
That's one.
That's one.
And there's probably all of them. To be honest, I'm not saying any names, but it kind of stinks at them because the cheaters just walk away. They just walk away and there's no penalties. I mean, if they're cheating to make money or cheating for the rest, they should just take all the incentive of the money away. They should be in court for criminal acts because that's what it is. And then maybe it'll deter deter the future of fighting to be doing this sort of rubbish.
So
it's not looking good at the moment for the sport. It's just like there's a bunch of fucking crooks and cheaters in the sport. That's all it is.
On your website, you gave an interview last week, markhunt.tv, and you talked about potentially forming this association. And the comments were, They spoke for themselves. And I'm wondering what kind of feedback you've received from your fellow fighters. Have a lot of people reached out to you? Have others expressed interest in teaming up with you?
Well, there's a few fighters, Nate Quarry, Kang Lee. There's a few fighters just trying to get the right guys on board. I do feel we need all the fighters to get together and behind this, because I'm not just talking about my future. I'm talking about the future of themselves and the kids that will look up to us as fighters. I'm looking at the long term of it. I mean, these companies don't give a rat's about fucking us. They just throw you in throw you under the bus like they've been doing to me. Sooner or later I'm going to run into someone that's going to really put me in trouble, and then what's going to happen about it? Nothing. So I think all these fighters that are listening to this, they should actually get behind this movement, get behind something, because if it's not me, it's going to be one of you. It's time to stand up, stick together, and move forward. These companies don't make nothing without us. They make nothing. The main reason why people watch mixed martial arts in this sport is because of us fighters, not because these people making freaking money, making tons and shitloads of money and not giving us nothing. So I mean, trying to form the whole thing is a process. It's hard. A lot of people have reached out, but it's got to be done. Something's got to be done. Whether they change the laws with the doping, and he forfeits all his purse, and he gets put in court or some shit like that. I mean, something's got to be done about it. I mean, I'm not interested in working for a company that just throws you under the bus all the time. It's ridiculous.
And just to be clear, has anyone from USADA reached out to you at all?
No, they don't give a rat's. Ain't none of them give a rat's about it. That's because they're all, to me, they're all fucking cheaters. The whole lot of them. Fuck them.
Are you confident, Mark, that an association, people have talked about this for a long time. Are you confident that it will happen, in the next few years, in the next year or so? Do you, based on what you've learned over the last, week or so, are you confident that this is a feasible thing?
To be honest, I'm confident it'll work. I mean, something's got to change, man. I mean, you just can't keep doing. Sooner or later, some fighter's just going to die, and then if the other guy gets caught doping, are they just going to let that guy walk away? Something's got to be made. Something's going to be held accountable for these things. Some things have got to change. Something's got to happen when they say you form a union. I mean, it's only in the fighter's best interest. I mean, I know I've heard a little story about unions, turning and doing the bad thing about it. But if you got fighters on the board, they'll understand how this whole thing works. I think this is only for the fighters to make it better. And I mean, all these people that are trying to get into the UFC or companies like that, what's the point? Why would you want to, get into the UFC when everyone's fucking cheating anyway? All these freaking guys getting busted for cheating. It's just. Why would you want to do it? You go, hey man, I've worked my ass to get to the top, and I'm the best in my sport. Oh, but your sport's a bunch of cheaters. Oh, okay.
Okay, so
like all these guys cheating, like I said before, all these guys freaking cheating. I mean, all their world titles and everything mean nothing. You've cheated to get it. Worthless scum. That's what they are. They're worthless scum. And before I thought, they should give half of their purses. Fuck that. Cheaters shouldn't get nothing. They should get nothing.
One thing that I've noticed people say to you over the last couple of weeks is, hey, before the fight, you said that you would knock him out whether or not he was on steroids. Why are you talking about this now? Why are you complaining now? Obviously a ridiculous statement, but what do you want to say to those people?
Well, to those people, assuming someone's on the gear and getting told that this is a clean sport is totally different from knowing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm always going to say I'm going to knock someone out. I don't care if he's doing this and that. I'll knock your face off. I'll say it all the time. I don't give a rest. But, you have an assumption about someone cheating, and, there's no way that white monkey's going to make fucking 265. There's no freaking way. He was far larger than I was, and I had to struggle to make weight. And then when he actually gets called doping for it, everyone throws me under the bus. Well, you know what, motherfuckers, fuck you. You can all kiss my ass. This is fucking, these fucking cheaters should fucking go and die. Die in a fire. A whole lot of them.
I know you've been around this fight game a long time. Could you tell that something was off with Brock? Like when you were fighting him, did he seem stronger? Was he different than the kind of opponents that you fought in the past? I mean, the non-cheating ones, as you put it. I mean, did something just seem weird about the fight from your perspective?
To be honest about the fight, I'm not even sore about the loss. I mean, every loss I take, I accept it and I move on. With that loss, it was just one of those things. I already gave credit to Brock after the fight when I lost. But, when I found out, there was nothing special about him. I mean, shucks. At the end of the day, he out-wrestled me and put me down and won the fight. I have no problem with that. But, if you did it by cheating, then you shouldn't get any praises or anything. I mean, they even gave him my spot, my number 8 spot. I mean, shucks. You honestly going to give a cheater a fucking spot? It's ridiculous. What the hell?
Yeah.
There's nothing special about him. I mean, for someone that's using so much gear, there's no way he could even finish me. I mean, if I was gearing like him, his head would have come off. I would have punched his head through the whole freaking octagon. It's ridiculous.
Did you hear what he said about John Jones, saying that it was unprofessional before the fight, and then this comes out? Did you see the irony in those comments?
Well, it just makes me laugh because, I mean, that makes me laugh because, that's how he won his world title. He stuck a needle in his poo chute, and that's how he won his title. People say, oh, Mark, it doesn't help you. Well, then if it doesn't help you, why do it? You're that scared of losing. I mean, shucks. I mean, it's funny that one cheater calls out another cheater and says, oh, man, that's really unprofessional. What the hell does it make you? He's a fucking hypocrite. And the sad thing about it, these companies aren't doing anything about it. Me saying these things and trying to form a unit, all these things, well, at the end of the day, we all got to make sacrifices, and mine's coming up to the end soon. I don't give a rat's about working in the UFC anymore because they don't do anything about it. They don't do nothing about it. So all these kids listening to this, watching this, you're wasting your time trying to get into these companies because they don't give a rat's about you. They just throw you under the bus.
What bothers you more, Mark? The fact that he fought after failing this drug test and all that, or the fact that no one has actually called you on the phone from the company that you work for to talk about this?
What upsets me about that is I'm just thinking maybe they knew. Did they know about this? Is that why they're not doing anything about it? Did they give this fucking fool an exemption for 4 months because they knew about this? So that means for surely that they knew about this, they don't give a rat's about any of us. They say, hey, man, we'll get this fucking juiced up freaking monkey going here and then go and fight with this guy. I mean, shucks, people say he should have a rematch. I wouldn't want to waste my time with that. He's rubbish. And they say he beat you. Well, if he didn't stick a needle in his ass, then maybe it would be different. I mean, shucks, if you got a stick needle in your ass to try and compete, you must be really scared of losing. I think it's a time that unity needs to be formed. On all these fighters to get together, because, I mean, we're sending the wrong message. The message we're sending out to all these people that are watching the sport is, oh, man, you can get away with fucking anything. You just, to make it in the UFC, you stick a needle in your ass, and they'll give you millions of dollars if you make it to the top. That's as easy. They'll even give you an exemption for 4 months, and not only that, they'll give you your own press conference. The fool had his own press conference and made everyone wait for his own press conference. What a joke.
Would you be comfortable, Mark, with if this doesn't get resolved and you have to walk away, would you be comfortable leaving on that note? Would that bother? I mean, would that sit with you the wrong way for the rest of your life, leaving like this?
It doesn't sit wrong with me because, like I said, I mean, people are scared of forming unions because the company's going to get upset. Man, fuck the company. They don't give a shit about you or anyone else. If I walk away now, like I walked away now, I don't care. I walk away knowing that I haven't cheated to get in the spot, haven't cheated to make I can keep my head held up high and say, I might have to make a lot of different sacrifices, change the way things are, but then so be it. That's fine. At least I knew that I went to the top, and all you find at the top is dirty, fucking scummy cheaters. And a company that's going to help them do it. Yeah, here's some needles, stick it in your ass.
And
I'll be comfortable with that. There's no way I even worried about this. I mean, when you get told it's a clean sport, and people are the testing and doing this and that, that's fine. You're doing all the testing, but what penalties are these monkeys giving them? They're not giving no penalties at all. USADA, fucking NASA, whatever the fuck they are, what penalties are they giving? Nothing. They're just saying, oh, hey, we caught this guy busted and cheating. He has to give us all his money. Why the fuck did you get it? Why should they get that shit?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not the ones that lost. They're not the ones that had their brand go down. I mean, I didn't say anything when I lost, when I beat the other two guys that I fought while they were cheating, and probably the rest of the other cheaters that I fought. But at the end of the day, I mean, enough's enough. I mean, sooner or later, something bad. I mean, the first fight I had with Bigfoot, I broke my hand in 2 places.
Yeah.
You know, the fight against Frank Mir, I mean, I had a broken nose going into that. But, I mean, it was a quick fight. And I was like, you know what, it's over. I mean, he got busted. Can't agree with you. What's a fucking joke? It couldn't be, you know, it couldn't be like a pattern right here going here. Third time, this other goofball comes in. And you know what, I'm glad I lost the fight. I'm actually really glad, because if I probably won the fight, I would have said, yeah, he's cheating. All right, that's fine. I go to the next guy. And then probably if I got hurt in that fight, I'd say, hey, man, what's going on here? It's the fourth guy I've been fighting that's on freaking roids. And then sooner or later, I'm thinking, maybe I should go and stick a needle in my ass so I can compete with these motherfuckers. Anyway, that's how I feel. It's just annoying about the whole thing. You know, UFC hasn't even reached out or said nothing to me.
Wow. That is crazy.
They're just waiting for something to say, you know what, okay, that's in his contract. You can't do that. Let's send him a firing message. We'll fire his ass. Well, fuck your firing. I don't give a shit. You stick your cheaters up your ass.
Is that...
Just go and get a job like the rest of the people. You know, get a job and say, you know what, fuck that company is shit. They're fucking worthless scum.
Mark, if they say to you now, we're going to give you some money, you know, we're going to try to make this right, is it too late, in your opinion, or would that make you happy?
What I would like to be done here is, what are they going to do about it?
Yeah.
Are they going to put in a law so everyone else that gets caught doping gets penalized? They need to do something. They have done nothing. They need to put in place, all your money goes, and you're going to go to court for cheating. That's what they need to do. That is what they need to do to change things away. All these cheaters are getting away with it. You know, they're going, and they could seriously injure someone, and someone could die. Someone could die, and what will happen? Nothing will happen, because it ain't happening now. So if the message they're sending to the whole world, to the younger kids and the people that want to get into the sport at the top end, is they're condoning cheating? Well, then why don't you make it a cheating competition? And then just make it legal. They don't want to fucking stick needles in their ass. Let's call it the sticking needle in your ass in the Pushu competition and say he's the craziest motherfucker out there.
Has this whole incident changed the way you feel about MMA, in the sense that, like, do you feel like your love for the sport is going away, that you don't care for it like you used to? I mean, I love fighting and all, but it's just not fair. You can't compete when the guys are cheating. Yeah.
It's like someone going in with a gun. I mean, imagine if I started cheating is using gear.
Yeah.
You don't think if I went and maimed someone, do you think they'll think it's fair? No, they'll say, well, he was fucking doping. Well, okay, I was doping. Okay, give me 2 years off. Then what? That's it. Nothing happens. His kids go without food. His kids go without a provider. Then what? I mean, I understand there's the hurt business, like I said before, but on an even playing field. I got into this because it's an even playing field. Like, you know, we're doing the right thing on an even play. We're not injecting ourselves and enhancing ourselves to try and murder someone, because in the end we're trying to kill each other, but without enhancing our shit. I just think, you know, he needs to be made an example of. All these cheaters need to be made an example of. You know, these people that they do it for profit, money, whatever it is they do it for, they need to lose it all. And the fact of the matter is, they say, oh, well, what about us? We said, well, who told you to stick a needle in your fucking poo shoot? You dirty ass scum. Who did? No one.
Are you considering legal action, Mark?
I will. I will consider it. You know, I mean, these guys got to do something about it. You know, I think they got enough money. They've made enough money off everyone's fucking blood to do something about this shit. And I'm sick of, and I don't want to be sitting here or be a part of a company that does that. Just let that happen. You know, fuck that. You do something about it. You've got enough freaking financial gain from it. Do something about it. I mean, shucks, and people. The worst thing about it is they get, you know, flack from all these these freaking nut-hugging scumbags, steroid-using monkeys saying, get over it. I don't want to get over it. Why would I want to get over it? So the next time I go into fight, I get maimed or injured. Are you going to look after my family? No. Well, then you get over it. Scummy cunt.
In a perfect world, Mark, what would you like to see happen here? Like, what's the perfect scenario, the perfect outcome to this mess?
The best outcome for this is if the company that I work for says, you've been cheating, you lose all your financial incentive for cheating, and you get fined. You get sued, and you get fined. You go straight to court, criminal court. That's what you've done as an offense. That's what I want done. So that these guys that are cheating don't have more incentive to do it because they do it for financial gain. They do it to win. They do it to this. But if you take all the away, they get nothing. Make them banned for 5-10 years. There goes your career. 5-10 years, you have no career left, and not only that, you lose all your money. You're done as a fighter. That'll stop you from doing it. That's what I want to see done.
And just for the record, go ahead. Sorry.
I won't be part. I won't be part of any company that says they have. We don't mind you cheating or doing this or that. Otherwise, then every monkey will be on it.
And if that doesn't happen, you're not fighting anymore for them, right?
No, I'll go work somewhere else. Like I said, I don't give a shit if we got to sue their asses. Well, fuck you, you're getting sued. You scummy cunts. You think? The problem is everyone thinks, hey man, I want to get you into the UFC. Fuck the UFC. You're shit. You motherfuckers don't look after nobody. You just go here, throw this motherfucker, this freaking stupid fucking Samoan under the bus, and they don't get the best in front of the whole world, and we'll let this fucking white piece of shit fucking sticking needles in his ass and say, let him cheat all the way to the fucking bank. Let's give him fucking millions of dollars and don't worry about this motherfucker. Fuck that, and fuck your shit company. Take that to the fucking, look at that for a contract. You can sue me on that, motherfuckers.
And Mark, physically after the fight, are you okay? Any serious injuries?
No, there's nothing wrong with me. But, like I said, there's nothing about it, but fuck that.
Okay.
Motherfuckers.
Is there anything else you feel like you want to say about this before I let you go back to your kids and start your day off right?
I think something needs to be done about this. There's a bad example that they're sitting here for these freestyle fighting, or these boys and girls that are watching this, and I'll probably be the one that's going to fall on the sword and not walk away. That's I understand that, I get that, but for the rest of you fighters and all these kids that are listening to this, when it's your time to come and complain about it, you're going to hear somebody already say before you. There's already been someone here saying, there's something got to be done about it. And I think until someone probably dies, then what's going to happen then?
I appreciate you coming on, Mark. Really, really thank you. And I hope this works out for you. I hope everything works out. I'm sorry that this has happened to you and that you've been put in this position. I hope it starts with a phone call, at least, from either USADA or the UFC. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. There he is, Mark Hunt. Hate to hear him like that. We've had him on this show numerous times, and quite often a happy-go-lucky, somewhat jolly figure, and it's started that way, but you can certainly understand where he is coming from. You can understand his frustration, and I think it starts with a phone call, at least, some open line of communication being established. I think that would go a long way, and I hope that he is at least able to ask some of those questions to the important people. And I know there is a process that needs to be played out, and I know that Brock is owed a due process. He has not been officially suspended by USADA or the UFC for that matter. So that is important to note in this situation, but you can feel and hear the frustration oozing out of that telephone, right? Halfway across this world, on a Tuesday morning in Sydney, Australia, Mark Hunt appears to have had enough. And I have never heard him like that. I don't think I've ever heard anyone on this show like that. And you certainly sympathize with him. He was in there with someone that he believes was cheating. How do you deal with that? You got. This is an interesting sport. So I started off this week talking about that it was fun to talk about fights this weekend and results and interesting results and upsets, big wins, things of that nature, fun debuts. Unfortunately, we end on that note, but that is the reality of mixed martial arts in 2016. It is an evolving sport. It is a somewhat dirty sport. It is a sport that is trying to be cleaned up. I do believe that, but we go back to that line uttered by the soon-to-be former CEO of the UFC, Lorenzo Fertitta, at that press conference announcing the historic USADA deal. It is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. He never, obviously, laid out just how bad it will get. None of us know. Hopefully, it doesn't get worse than this. Hopefully, it doesn't get worse than arguably one of the biggest names in the UFC speaking like that. Hopefully, it doesn't get to the point that someone does get seriously injured. And it can happen. And we can talk all day about, no data here and no scientific evidence there. You can't tell me that using PEDs, even though there is no history of a serious injury or death in the UFC, you can't tell me that using PEDs is not a bad thing, is not a thing to be worried about. You can't tell me that. You just can't. And that's why we all applauded the UFC for linking up with USADA. And that's why we all welcome this new era. And there are some growing pains. This is a growing pain. For a guy to potentially test positive on June 28th and then fight on July 9th just doesn't pass the smell test. And people talk about the time difference, the delay in getting the results. Well, do the math. June 28th, July 9th. That's 11 days, right? Then we find out last Tuesday, which was July 19th, that Brock tested positive or potentially failed his second drug test on July 9th. That's 10 days. Oh, by the way, the result, I screwed up. June 28th was the first test that he potentially failed. Those results came back on July 14th, officially announced on July 15th. So let's say 14th. That's 16 days. Came back 16 days later. If he failed another one on July 9th and it gets announced on July 19th, potentially results get back on July 18th, that's what? 9 or 8 days. Had they gotten the results back from the June 28th test 9 or 8 days later, that would have coincided with before UFC 200. You see what I'm saying? So anyone saying that they can't get the test back in a timely manner before the fight, I'm just not buying it. There's too much money. There's too much at stake. There's lives at stake. There's health at stake. There's reputations at stake. You got to figure out if you're going to go through the trouble of doing random out-of-competition drug testing, you have to make sure that the tests come back beforehand, before the fight. You just have to make sure of it. There's got to be a way because it's a futile mission. Sure, you pop the guy. Afterwards, you find out there's something to that. I see the value in that. But if we're going to go through the trouble of locating these guys all around this great world, you got to get those results beforehand. There just has to be a way, in my opinion. Any final thoughts, New York Rick?
I am definitely not about to follow that one up. That's a walk-off.
That is a walk-off from a man who knows a thing or two about walk-offs, right?
I mean, there... I put 100 flame emojis on Twitter, and that's what it was. I mean, he came out guns blazing.
Yeah. Perhaps, yeah, you can't be all that surprised. All right, well, that does it for this show. What a way to end. We made a habit out of some pretty memorable end-of-show interviews. Mark Hunt's no different. You can hear my music. Another big week of MMA is upon us. As I mentioned, Invicta returns on Friday. Is it Friday? New York Rick, you going there? He's gone. He went to bed. I think it's Friday.
You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
I will be in Kansas City. Friday night event.
It's Friday night event on Fight Pass. World Series fighting back on Saturday on NBCSN. But the big one, of course, is UFC 201 in Atlanta, Georgia. Tyron Woodley finally gets that crack at the UFC welterweight title. You know, the knock on Woodley throughout his career has been that he can't win the big one, right? He's had some opportunities. It felt like he exercised those demons against Carlos Condit, had the slip up against Roy McDonald, but is this his opportunity? It certainly looks like it is. Is this his opportunity to finally win the big one? Tyron Woodley versus Robbie Lawler. Does this Robbie Lawler story, this amazing story that no one saw coming, does it continue post-Saturday? We'll be talking about that next Monday on the show. For now, we say goodbye. Thank you very much to Juliana Pena for stopping by. Great stuff from her. Thank you very much to Mackenzie Dern for stopping by. Congratulations on her successful MMA debut. Thank you very much to Khabib Nurmagomedov for stopping by. Great stuff from him as always. Welcome back, Chael Sonnen. I maintain if he passes that test, that we'll see him back. Thank you very much to Daniel Leith for stopping by. Welcome back to Michelle Watterson. And thank you very much to Michael Venom Page and, of course, Mark Hunt for stopping by as well. Back next Monday, same time and place. Hit us up, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, all that good stuff and more. Until then, say peace.